Coming up on today's show, we got our first Nintendo Direct in over a year, and was it worth it? We'll discuss. We've got lots of special guests on this episode of What's Good Games. What's good, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the What's Good Games podcast, your source for video game news, commentary, analysis, and funny stuff every Friday. I am Andrea Renee, joined by Miss Brittany Brombacher.
Hello.
And Miss Rihanna Manuel.
Hi.
And special guest, Parris Lily is here.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we've also got special guest, Kahlief Adams.
Oatmeal cookies.
Oh, why you gotta start it out already?
No. This is the thing. I tried to instigate some shit earlier on Twitter, and Kyle's like, "No, I'm feeling the peace today. No shade whatsoever." And then you oatmeal heathen. You start out with that line.
It's because I love you all. I only do that to people I love.
I know it's been too long.
I appreciate that. It's funny that you bring up oatmeal raisin cookies because I just watched a trailer for a board game, a family-friendly board game that a friend of a friend is making, and it's all about collecting candy like on Halloween night. And there's like a bad card you can get, and the kid calls it Morsels of Darkness, aka raisins. And it actually lowers your score when you get it. So
sad.
Morsels of Darkness is amazing.
But I mean,
unreasonable.
He's not wrong, you know? Like, nobody wants to get the raisins, but
No one wants prunes in their cookies, but
Wow.
You like raisins.
Wait, Parris, where do you
fruit?
stand? This is actually technically one of the questions that we were going to save for the third segment, but since Kahlief just got us started off, Parker Petrov actually wrote in on Twitter and says, "What's Parris's stance on oatmeal raisin cookies?" So we gotta know.
They're delicious.
Ah, shit.
What else are you supposed to say? They're delicious.
See?
Thank you.
Andrew, we're outnumbered. We're outnumbered in
are.
this episode.
Put
We're
some
definitely
walnuts in them too.
outnumbered.
It's delicious. Little
With some
cinnamon on top.
walnuts? Absolutely. Thank you,
Yeah.
Parris.
Okay.
They're good.
I will let you have your delicious oatmeal raisin cookies. It's just more chocolate chip for Britt and I. It's fine.
Yeah. Fuck all y'all.
Okay.
Well, welcome to the show. Thank you so much to all of you for being here. You guys have seen Kahlief on the show before, of course. He runs Spawn on Me. Hopefully you guys have been checking out his channel. Rihanna, I don't need to introduce, needs no introduction. Rihanna Manuel from G4. But Parris from Gamertag Radio, this is the first time we've been finally able to get you on the show. We had Danny on the show last year. But so good to finally have you. You've been podcasting for a really long time. How many years has it been now?
Yeah, since 06. So doing the math, What is that? I'm terrible. 15 years, right? Yeah.
I just dang, that's a
I
lot
was
of
gonna
podcasts.
say that's the year I graduated from high school.
Oh my God.
Oh no, Brittany.
No, but I don't know if you remember.
I graduated the year before.
I was supposed to come on the show right before the pandemic. Then the pandemic happened, and I got scratched.
Yeah.
No.
No, well, I remembered it. Obviously, I held it in my heart. You did.
God, I'm such an
I knew you
asshole.
were going to vote for oatmeal cookies. That's what it was. They're trying to
That's
keep
it,
you away
yeah.
for as long as possible.
Exactly. That was exactly it. But we're glad that you guys are all here. We have some really fun news to talk about on the show this week, which we're going to get to in just a minute. But I want to say thank you to February's Patreon producers, Chewy's Godson, FlyinCosmo, Justin Foshee, Punkdefied, Faris Attieh, Mohammed Mohammed, Marcus Ian Brown, and Alex Rigopulos. And welcome to our Patreon community, Dari Bermudez, Shylock R, and Theo Marinakis. Sorry, Theo, if I spelled your name wrong. You guys can be part of the show by submitting your questions every week at patreon.com/whatsgoodgames. And you can also get the show ad-free. Speaking of ads, I want to let you know that this episode of What's Good Games is brought to you by ExpressVPN, Audible, and Logitech G. But we'll tell you more about them later because right now, Britt, I believe we've got some new podcast reviewers.
We do. We have QP Johnny, Nathuni, Donald Draper. Tell Me You Love Mike. I don't know if that's a fetish of yours and a cheap way of us studying that, but you do you. Here we are. And we have Mattman Fisher. Thank you so much for these reviews. Again, helps us in the algorithms, helps people discover our show. And that means so much to us.
Indeed. There's been some really nice ones lately, too. So shout out to everybody who's been taking the time to write a 5-star review and say something kind. Put some positivity out in the world. It's always a good thing. But Brittany and esteemed guests, I have a lot of bullet points under this Nintendo stuff story. So
boy.
while we were doing our live watch along today, I just essentially wrote down everything that Nintendo talked about in their first direct in over 500 days. So we don't have to obviously talk about everything that they went over. But Britt, as our resident Nintendo expert and guru, why don't you pick the thing that you want to talk about first?
Okay, so the thing I'm most excited about, or the thing I'm most like, ooh, this is the most topic of discussion, I guess it would be the fact that our Zelda news, ladies and gentlemen, is, I hear a big sigh, I believe that's come from Parris, can't be too sure though, is Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. So Zelda's 35th anniversary is right around the corner. Literally, I think it's what, in like a week or something, a few days. And we are all thinking like, yo, dog, we're gonna get some fucking Zelda collection, kind of like what Nintendo did with the Mario franchise. But Alaska, no, we did not, friends. We got Skyward Sword remaster. And I have a lot of feelings about this, but I talk on the show a lot. So I'd love to turn it to Parris, who I think has some thoughts about this.
Where do I begin? I'm disappointed. I mean, just to be frank about it, it's disappointing because of all the Zelda games that I thought they could have had as a part of this. I was even like, I'm not a fan of Wind Waker. I'm thinking, well, even if it's Wind Waker, that's something I totally get. But to do Skyward Sword, and that was to me kind of the point where Zelda started to feel stale when that came out in 2011, where I'm like, okay, been there, done that. We need to do something different with Zelda, which obviously turned into Breath of the Wild. So I personally was hoping they would go kind of out of the box and do something like Majora's Mask, which is, in my opinion, a very unique Zelda title because it has a very unique gameplay mechanic to it. Bring that up to the Switch so a brand new audience could experience it for the first time potentially. Skyward Sword to me just kind of, I don't want to say lazy, but I guess I'm saying kind of a lazy effort, in my opinion. I thought they could have been more creative with this, or at least make the collection that a lot of people thought they were going to do and have multiple Zelda games in there. And it's kind of similar to the way they did with Mario, where I felt Sunshine was the weakest of the three, but because it's there, it's something I check out, you know, regardless, because it was a part of the collection. And maybe they should have done something like that with Skyward Sword, and maybe, like I said, had Wind Waker or even Twilight Princess or something like that included with it. I think that would have been a better value for gamers.
Yeah, man, I am right there, right there with you. Obviously, what I was hoping for would be an Ocarina of Time remake, but
Yeah.
at this point, I don't fucking know if I'm ever getting that. You know, it's an interesting choice, and from a purely like marketing perspective, you can see what they're going for in the sense that they're like, hey, you know, if you played Breath of the Wild, look how this is kind of like Breath of the Wild.
Right.
There's like this open world, there's this collecting, and I don't even know. I was kind of tuning it out at that point, if I'm being 100% honest with you. But I can understand that, and I guess if you look at it from the timeline of the series, that this is the very first Zelda game in the Hyrule timeline. You know, this is where you learn about the creation of the kingdom of Hyrule. You learn about the creation of the Master Sword, who the very first Zelda is. And from that, it's interesting. But for all of those major, remarkable plot points, I too felt like this game just fell flat back in the day. And maybe that was because this was the game that followed Twilight Princess, which I think was a fantastic Zelda title.
Yeah.
And it had these terrible motion controls and these reused environments. And it was just kind of a victim of itself in that sense. So, bummer deal. I see what they're going for, but it would not have been my pick either.
Whose pick is this? Is what I want to know. I've seen so many people,
Girl,
ranking
where's the
Zelda
data?
games today, and Skyward Sword is at the bottom of literally everybody's list.
yeah, I don't literally, you know, there's always that meme online, like, who asked for this? Like, I don't know. I literally don't know.
Well, I think also the fact that they did the Link's Awakening remake, right? So that kind of got me excited. Oh, wow, 35th anniversary. Again, maybe Ocarina of Time or something like that. They would remake that. I'm telling you, the internet would have broke if that happened. But this just felt like, hey, well, we got the assets laying around. Port it up to the Switch. That's good enough. You know, we know Breath of the Wild 2 is probably coming next year in 2022, but I was really hoping they would just do something extra special with these legacy Zelda titles. And like everyone's saying, Skyward Sword is easily in the bottom third of Zelda titles all time. So it was just very surprising that this was the one they picked. I know it's the 10-year anniversary, but still.
I do think it was interesting how during the presentation, the producer, whose name I'm not going to butcher right now, made a very specific note to connect Skyward Sword with Breath of the Wild to remind people that this was the last mainline console installment, that there's ties to what they were doing gameplay-wise in Skyward Sword with Breath of the Wild. Do you think that they maybe were just anticipating that people would see that who hadn't played Skyward Sword and be like, ooh, it's kind of like Breath of the Wild, and be kind of hoodwinked by it? Or am I
guess I would ask
here?
you that. I would ask you that question, Andrew, because Breath of the Wild was your first like console game. You had played the handheld ones before. Are you interested at all in Skyward Sword?
I mean, no, because everyone's saying it's booty.
Yeah.
I mean, if
Before
everyone
we
rates it
poo-pooed
at the
it.
bottom, why am I wasting my time? Like, really?
Word. Yeah, I got nothing. You're right. There you go.
I mean, obviously, we have more Nintendo coming later in the year. They talked about saying that Breath of the Wild 2 information's coming later in the year. Maybe, you know, the ports that people want, like Ocarina of Time, are going to be announced later in the year as part of a collection. Who knows?
I'm
I
just
wanna
dying
get
for that to
excited.
be your back of the box quote. And this game is booty.
Booty.
Listen, it's straight from you. That's your quote.
It's so
I just didn't
true.
say the whole thing. Kahlief's booty butt cheeks.
I have to TM that at some point. We have to make that real.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
100%. All right. So Brittany got her Skyward Sword news bulletin off. Kahlief, it is your turn to pick from the bullet points of Nintendo news you would like to talk about.
Oh, sweet baby Jesus, Lord, help me in everything that is sacred. Because the whole list is so, like Parris kind of nailed my feelings about most of the stuff here already, where he said, "Oh, we got the assets to support it to Switch." I feel like that was the whole
Yeah.
thing. I think that was basically the whole show. There was like two things. Well, first, again, WGG fans, family, I love y'all. I am not a big Nintendo fan. I am not. I will fully say that to the nth degree. But the two things that did kind of excite me were, I'm looking at it now, Knockout City from EA looked like that was going to be interesting.
Yeah.
That looks like, again, they're trying to do something new, trying to do something fun. For me, when it comes to Nintendo stuff, if you're trying to do something actually new and not port another game over to another platform, that's the first thing that's going to actually perk my ears up. But most of the stuff they had during the show was pretty much like, hey, we have stuff that we already used before and we're going to just redo it again. Splatoon 3 looked interesting as a conversation piece to see what that's going to wind up being later on. I did see a lot of people really excited about Mario Golf, which I'm still a little bit confused by, because there are a bunch of different, because they already have a bunch of different kinds of golf games already that are
But
kind
you
of like
can't
in that
have
space.
you can't have more golf games.
I like more
I'm
golf
really
games.
excited about Mario Golf. That's probably the only one of this whole list
Yeah.
that I actually am excited about. And I don't
guess I
I
would
don't
be
know why
excited.
more people aren't showing their enthusiasm for. I mean,
I-
look at it. Doesn't this just look like a fun, wholesome game to spend some time perfecting your swing on?
Absolutely.
Story mode.
Absolutely. If I hadn't played Let's Golf on my PlayStation already, and then just put a big old Mario head and some Bowser faces
You're missing the
on
whole
the
point.
stuff.
You're missing. It's but that's the whole point. It's
But
the Mario characters doing it,
Man,
and
listen.
just all the hijinks that comes with a Mario Golf game, and you can play multiplayer, so you can talk trash to your friends as you're doing it. It's, trust me, day one purchase.
And it
Oh,
just
yeah. There's some
reminds me
interesting
so much of
modes,
all
too.
of the countless hours I spent playing Wii Golf.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah, I get that part.
And
I
Ray, you're a
understand
golf
the Mario
fan.
part.
I'm a
I
huge
understand
golf
that.
game fan. Not in real life, but in video games, absolutely. And I feel like this is the best of, golf story matched with, some Mario Kart action. You can like
Yeah.
race your friends and try to get to the ball to get to the hole faster than them. That
That's what
pause.
she
that-
said.
I didn't want to say it. Like it felt bad as that was happening. But no, honestly, this was probably my highlight. I know there was an Apex moment, and people probably expect that to be the thing I was most excited for, which I'm not because I play on a Switch Lite, so not for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I
that
think this
announcement had
this is cool.
already been announced, right?
Yeah. No, this is cool. I mean, I don't want to yum your yuck, Ka, but I'm excited for Mario Golf.
I rocks with it. I rock with it. I'm still very confused at the Nintendo audience and their
that's
their
fair.
love and hype for everything old, which is amazing.
We don't even understand it ourselves, Kyle. Like, let me be
I
frank
know
with
y'all
you.
don't. I know y'all don't. It's like watching Men in Black every time a damn Nintendo Direct comes on because it looks like somebody hit you with the blinky thing, and then everybody was like, "Oh, I forgot that I just bought this shit 2 days ago. Stop doing it."
But
For the love of
But it
everything
worked.
sweet.
But
It
that's
works
Nintendo.
every time.
But that's Nintendo, though. What you're saying is classic Nintendo. I literally tweeted it earlier. We can be as disappointed as we want to be about anything they showed today, but we're all going to be dumb enough to buy all this stuff over and over, and Doug Bowser's going to swim in his money bin tonight. That's just how it works.
Fam, hold on 1 second. The thing that bugged me out. So I'm watching this, side by side. I was actually watching the What's Good watch along
Oh,
during. I mean, because y'all are the best. Watching that, making my own notes, and watching Twitter at the same time. And I almost lost the one piece of hair that I have left when I saw Capcom Arcade Stadium come up and people were hyped. And I was like, what is happening here?
No.
What is happening?
Yeah,
I was
I'm
like,
with
is
you
the
there.
pandemic that
To
bad?
me, like those really deep nostalgic packs have been done, and the fact that they keep getting done over and over again, I think is wearing out its welcome. Even some classic Nintendo titles, I think, are wearing out their welcome as far as being re-released every single time because you can play them on virtually any platform now. But I'm with you that there's a lot of people excited about a lot of different things, and like Ree was talking about, I'm not trying to yuck anyone's yum, right?
True.
Like, if that's what gets you hyped, cool. But like, I wanted more bangers from this direct, knowing that we haven't had a direct in such a long time. I was hoping for a solid like 3 to 5 like really punchy moments. And to me, the only big news out of this entire 50-minute direct was Splatoon 3. That to me was it. That was the news.
It's 2022.
And warp pipes in Animal Crossing, because
I mean, yes, Avi, but that could have been a 60-second trailer on Twitter. It would have been fine.
I loved how fam came on screen and was like, hey, that really important thing that you all wanted to see, it ain't coming. Now let's go run the break to the other thing. I was like, what is happening, Nintendo? What are you doing to the people?
Here's the thing: is we should have known better. Nintendo fans, we should have known better. And like Parris was saying, we do this to ourselves all the fucking time. Is if you look at how that tweet is constructed, it's like we're gonna be focusing on Smash and other stuff coming the first half of 2021. If there were some real bangers coming during this direct, they would have led with something like that. I think obviously anytime you see Nintendo Direct, your panties get twisted in a good way because you're like, oh wow, it's fucking awesome. But if they're leading with Smash, which is something we've seen from Nintendo a lot, then I think that kind of raises a few red flags. And every time we see this, we anticipate a new Mario thing, maybe something with Bayonetta, maybe the new Pokemon game, maybe something with Metroid. And we just get so excited and then it just never comes to fruition. So we can only be mad at ourselves.
That's what she said.
I agree.
Indeed. So we're not going to belabor too many of these, but Ree, do you have a bullet point that you would like to talk about?
Not
that we haven't
really.
already discussed?
That's the thing. It's like I don't really have anything that I was super excited about. Like Tales from the Borderlands, I'll replay it. That's kind of like the only real like I'm there day one aside from Mario Golf, which is I'll be fun. But yeah, I wasn't surprised or excited by anything else. Unfortunately,
I'm sorry. These two Mario and Luigi Animal Crossing look like straight up fucking perverts. I can't take it.
Oh my god! I didn't even notice the Wario one. That's pretty bad.
I didn't either. The Wario one looks. Oh my god! He's like, hey, what's in the pipe?
The warp pipes, though. The warp pipes, though.
That's
The
functional.
warp pipes are cute.
That is highly functional. Running all the way across your island because you accidentally crushed a rock in the wrong spot and then you have to go reset your rock spawn is a pain in the ass. And okay, warp pipes I'm here for, but the rest of it, I could have left it.
My favorite title of the whole show was Hypotenuse Confusion.
God
AKA
damn it,
Oh wait,
Division,
I did pull that one up,
AKA.
especially for you.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
like yes, those who respect those who pursue pragmatic utility.
Oh god. It really does look like it's gonna be some kind of like Bravely game or something.
It's
It
So-
also feels like it's like The Bachelor for a hot second. Like I'm waiting
I'll
for
take you that Hades energy, you know. You want to date everything you see on screen.
So
Yeah, it's wild.
this geometry puzzle that Ka is talking about is Project Triangle. This is like the successor to Octopath Traveler, which was a fun game. it has HD 2D. I'll have you know. That's what it's called. Anyway, like, yeah, we don't really know anything about it. And the final title will probably just end up being Project Triangle. Because remember, Octopath Traveler was Project Octopath Traveler. And then they were just like, fuck it, we're taking off the project and we're just naming this bitch Octopath Traveler. And that's what we got. So
I
that's what
do
this
love
is.
how seriously the trailer takes itself, though.
Oh,
Like an
very
RPG
serious.
that
Oh, yeah.
will test
so
your
seriously.
convictions. Like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
Now,
Listen,
I
y'all
will
know
say-
that most of the weeb titles aren't my thing. It's usually Brittany and Steimer's bag, and I recall, Britt, that you and Steimer both really liked Octopath Traveler.
We
and-
did. Yeah, we never finished it though because the problem was it was all these random ass stories and they never came together as like one cohesive story. But looking at some of the serious ass dialogue that you see in this trailer, it looks like they're telling just finally like one story, which is where I think Octopath Traveler fell short. It was just they needed to be joined and they weren't. But this does look, I mean, it's serious as fuck, but that's every JRPG for you. So I'm here for it. And it has like tactical look to it, which is kind of fun.
True.
I'm very excited for A squared plus B squared equals C squared.
You did. God, I miss you.
Parris, did you want to pick a bullet point?
Yeah, I was going to say one thing that I could have been a big deal out of this would have been Fall Guys coming to the Switch if it included crossplay. If they were opening it up to crossplay now, PlayStation, PC, Switch players can all play together and eventually it comes to Xbox, I think that would have been a big headline thing to come out of this. But I'll just be honest, I'm not going to go play it on the Switch if I have to start over, right? So So it's almost a non-starter for me, but it definitely could have been a bigger thing. And I think it will eventually down the road. They're going to get there, but I was hoping they were going to have that announcement today.
I'm exactly where you're at with Fall Guys. I think that I've already started over once on Steam, started on PS4, started over on Steam. I'm like, I'm definitely not starting a third time on Switch. I think it's time for them to introduce crossplay between all these platforms. But I think it's also important to remember, and something I have to remind myself, that Mediatonic is still not like a giant team.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
they're
like
small.
they're not like a tiny indie team, right? They still have, substantial funding and all that, but they aren't, the biggest team out there. And maybe crossplay wasn't originally part of their vision when they started building their Nintendo Switch SKU, and then they kind of probably decided as a team, hey, let's just get the SKU out because the Switch is such a family-friendly platform. Fall Guys, clearly a really great family co-op game or multiplayer game that you can play with people of all ages. Let's just get the SKU out and then we'll add crossplay down the line. But yeah, the fact that they still haven't talked about it coming to Xbox yet is a little head-scratching.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Really good point.
But
on that.
it does make you wonder, though, whatever exclusive agreement PlayStation potentially have, maybe it just ran out. So maybe an Xbox announcement could potentially be imminent now that we're seeing it come to the Switch as well. So, but the big thing, they got to get crossplay. I think if they want to keep their current audience and have more people jump on other platforms and just get everyone to play together, they got to get crossplay going.
Or cross progression. I would take either one. I
Cross-progression.
can
Yeah,
bring
yeah,
all my
that
stuff
too.
with me.
That too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
need
huge
that.
point. That's definitely a point in Apex's detriment. A point that I didn't like about the Apex announcement is like I've already started over, like you're saying, Andrea, from my PlayStation over to playing Apex on Xbox, and now to start again on another console, and I don't have any of my skins. Like, sure, they give you this little boost with the battle pass, but like the skins are the thing that matters if you're not that good, which is me. So I need them to come with me. You know what I mean? Like I can't show off how good I am with the new weapons. I have to show off by how long I've been playing and how much money I've dumped into it for Apex packs. And if I can't bring that with me, what do I have to show for all of my work? That's what I didn't like.
This is pretty much me in all of the Paragon sessions that I had with Ka.
Oh my
like
god.
all of the fanciest skins, and I'm a pretty decent mid lane.
You're a fantastic mid. You're a fantastic
Thanks,
mid lane.
thanks.
Oh my god. But we never talked about Star Wars Hunters because that was the thing that was the shortest
Yeah.
trailer that had me the most like, oh, I want to know more about that.
Did you see
What's
who's
up?
making it though?
Zynga is making it.
Yeah.
Oh, Zynga's making it. Oh,
The immediate letdown. So clearly Zynga, a giant mobile development studio. I think there are a lot of connotations that instantly come to mind when people think free-to-play arena combat game by a mobile development studio. Clearly this is going to be pulling at people because of the Lucasfilm, itch. Everybody loves Star Wars. I think that that's going to go a long way. And not just because my husband works at Disney am I saying this, but Disney's mobile games have been pretty decent so far.
yeah.
I don't know if you guys have played like Emoji Blitz or their other tactical turn-based game, Disney Arena. My husband literally plays it on the couch next to me every night, and I don't remember what the name of it is. He's gonna listen to this and shake his angry fist and be
He's
like, "You
definitely gonna
failed."
be like, what?
But I mean, my point was that so far I haven't seen a piece of garbage that has Disney's name on it, so I don't think it's gonna be terrible.
I don't think they would let that happen.
Yeah.
That is true.
That
That's
is very
definitely
true.
So,
I have a few other games that I was like kind of excited about.
Yeah,
Age of Calamity
sure.
DLC. Thanks. Yeah, let me have my moment here. Age of Calamity, Hyrule Warriors. I love this game. I actually 100%ed it, which is something I typically don't do. So it was kind of fun to see a roadmap of DLC that's coming. However, the trailer for it was like 2 seconds long, and then we didn't even have enough time to read everything. But looking at it, it looks like the most substantial DLC isn't going to be coming until November of this year, which is like obviously a little bit of a bummer. But like we've talked about before, Japan was, hit. We're all hit hard by this pandemic, but with their infrastructure and whatnot, like they were hit extra hard. So I'm sure there's been some development issues and whatnot. So that's all good. It's fine. I have enough farming games coming out between now and then to keep me occupied. But I'm looking forward to that. And then there was the Famicom Detective Club, which looks like an Ace Attorney / like it's a game set in Japan about haunted villages and like dead people, which looks again like right up my alley. I'm sure Rhea is very excited for this game as well. She loves scary things.
Absolutely not. No.
She's like,
No,
fuck
thank
you.
No. No, please.
how about no?
How about no? And then I think Legend of Mana was the other one that I'm like, okay, cool. Like again, none of these got me super hot and bothered, but they look fun. But again, I think I was just having all my eggs in my Zelda basket. But alas, we've beat that horse to death.
There's nothing wrong with getting excited again. Like if Stubbs the zombie excited you, that's okay. Be excited about Stubbs. I just
Poor
don't
Stubbs.
understand it, but that's okay. I don't need to.
Poor
I
Stubbs.
need my
Zombie.
stub stands to rise up.
Stub stands.
Stub
Oh my
stands.
god.
Stubbs stands. Amazing. Well, you guys, if you want to watch the entire Nintendo Direct, we have our VOD of the watch along at twitch.tv/whatsgoodgames. We do have a question here from Daquan Bynum, who writes in and says, did the Nintendo Direct move the needle for you all? Or did it lower all further expectations like it did for me? I love you, ladies, and happy Black History Month to the guests and I. Thanks, Daquan. So, anyone want to take a stab at that?
Parris, you're up.
It didn't move it up or down. I'm pretty much exactly where I was before they even had the Nintendo Direct. I still expect them to have more announcements later in the year. This kind of, all right, let's get this crap out of the way and we'll keep all the good stuff for later this year. Or at least that's what I'm hoping, right? So now I'm fine. Nintendo's they're always going to have something compelling that I'm going to want to play. So not too concerned by this.
Yeah, and like we've said, it's this weird thing of I almost have no expectations, but I have the highest expectations when it comes to Nintendo. I don't know. It's this weird thing I can't wrap my head around. So yeah, I would say I'm also just like right where I am. Sure, I was excited as fuck earlier, but even not getting what I didn't get, like it's fine. I'll still be just as excited the next time something pops up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to the Xbox Power Hour. But before we do that, I want to let you know that this episode of What's Good Games is brought to you by ExpressVPN. You know what's not fair? The fact that Netflix hides thousands of shows from you based on your location and then has the nerve to increase their prices on you. Dang you, Netflix. But starting at the end of this month, they're raising their prices once again, which we all are sad about. Now, listen, you could just cancel your subscription in protest, or you could be smart about it like me and make sure you're getting your full money's worth by using ExpressVPN. We've talked about ExpressVPN quite a few times on WGG before, and we love their service. And I am here to remind you that you might not know about what's going on in Netflix and other countries around the world, completely different from, what's happening here in the US. And sometimes we kind of get in our bubble and we forget, oh yeah, hey, in the UK, they've got other cool stuff going on Netflix. Japan also got cool stuff going on, but you just are here oblivious. I get it. But you can use ExpressVPN to control the country that you watch Netflix in. ExpressVPN has over 90 countries to choose from, so every time that you run out of stuff to watch, just switch to another country and unlock a bunch of new shows. Right now, I have been checking out Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Love that, Andy Samberg, because it's not on the US Netflix, but with just a tap of a button, ExpressVPN lets me change my location to Canada. If only I could do that IRL. But just with ExpressVPN, I can do it virtually so I can get my Brooklyn Nine-Nine fix. And here's the best part. It's not just for Netflix. You can use ExpressVPN to unlock shows on other streaming services too, like BBC iPlayer, which is only free and available to people in the UK. ExpressVPN is super fast and works on your phone, your laptop, or even your smart TV, so you can watch shows on the big screen with zero buffering. So be smart out there, everybody, and stop paying full price for multiple streaming services and only getting access to a fraction of their content. You can get your money's worth at expressvpn.com/whatsgoodgames. Use our link so you can get 3 extra months free. Who doesn't love something free? That's expressvpn.com/whatsgoodgames. expressvpn.com/whatsgoodgames to learn more and take advantage of our special deal. I love, Brittany, that you called this the Xbox Power Hour because there was so much Xbox news this week that I know Parris is dying to fight with me about.
Oh boy.
But why don't you kick us off, Britt, with the first story?
Absolutely. I'd love nothing more. So Microsoft starts a new program to help make more accessible games via The Verge. Microsoft is expanding its accessibility efforts with a new program for evaluating Xbox and PC games. Today, its gaming accessibility team announced that developers can send their games to be evaluated for accessibility and tested by players with disabilities. The program was announced alongside updates to the Xbox accessibility guidelines that were released in early 2020. Quote, developers now have the option to send Microsoft their Xbox or PC title and have it analyzed and validated against the recommendations provided in the XAGs, says an Xbox blog post published today. The Xbox accessibility guidelines include thorough explanations of inclusive design considerations for developers, and they are now updated to include clear language, additional context, and implementation examples. Game test reports will include feedback from players with disabilities, as well as links to information on inclusive design, relevant nonprofits, and accessibility experts. Any issues found during testing will be, quote, noted with reproduction steps, screenshots, and other information to help the developer understand what aspect of a given experience may be challenging for certain gamers with disabilities, says the post. Isn't this so fucking cool?
Yay! This is
Very
great
much so.
news.
This is great.
Yeah.
I wish more publishers would do this.
I mean, I wonder too, like we know a whole bunch of amazing folks in the space who are doing that work. Steve Saylor, Steve Spawn, our friends Greg Hazy over at Able Gamers and the rest of that crew. I feel like this is a direct connection to the stuff that they did with the, accessibility controller. And this is kind of a further iteration of doing that work across Xbox, which is, again, super cool to see that they're doubling down on all these things. And it feels like, Microsoft is continuing to build upon the conversation of trying to, again, get everyone to game, because gaming for everyone is one of their tags that they had some years ago, and it still continues to grow. So this is super fantastic to see that this is going to continue to be a thing.
Absolutely. And I love that Xbox is also making accessibility accessible, because there are so many devs and so many groups out there who want to do this, but don't have the resources or the know-how or the time to do it. And it's just making it that much more approachable for people who are interested in taking advantage of that resource. So I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think this is just
100%
great
agree. Yeah.
all around. My kind of like a little story about this. My grandma plays video games, and she is 80 years old. And as she's gotten older, she has really bad arthritis in her fingers. And the first time I ever actually communicated with Steve Spahn was, oh, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I was like, what options can I provide her? Because she loves her RPGs and whatnot. But she was having issues with a fishing mini game in an RPG she was playing, because you have to consistently tap the button to reel in the line, and she can't do it with her hands. And it was like, oh God. So I went over there because we've all been quarantining, and I tried to help her with it. And I found at my age of 32 years old that even I'm having like slight difficulty doing that with my hands. And I'm like, oh God, I'm really getting old. But even like those little minor inconveniences, which are nothing compared to what other accessibility issues, people are having out there, it really does kind of like make you think. And you're like, this clearly wasn't in the back of anyone's mind when they were developing this mechanic. And it's just little things like that that I'm so happy this is here, because I think this will really help catch, especially when some of those mechanics are built in to be necessary to proceed through the game. If like this fishing mini game was like a required element, she wouldn't be able to finish the game. And that's just because she has arthritis. And like, that's a pretty low scale when it comes to accessibility and disability issues, So I'm just really happy about this. That's all I'm trying to say. It's a good thing.
Awesome.
Agree.
Completely agree. I think one of the other important things that's coming out of this fact that Xbox is creating like a baseline for accessibility with games, so that when a developer does put their game through the certification, they'll immediately know if their game is passing what Microsoft considers to be accessible, and they obviously can fix anything that they're slacking on, or obviously reach out to Microsoft to improve, etc. But the whole point of this is, like you're saying, is making gaming for everyone, making it as accessible as possible for everyone to enjoy this craft.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting about them bringing this up is that we were talking about the platform responsibility to accessibility when the news broke around Cyberpunk 2077's launch that there was this really terrible epilepsy triggering scene in Cyberpunk that made it through certification that they then had to do a hotfix on. And a lot of people were talking about, like, how did the platforms not catch this? This could be really dangerous. We are used to video games having those type of warnings at the beginning of most major video games you play these days. And the fact that Cyberpunk didn't have it was a really big deal. And they came in a lot of hot water, rightly so, for it. And, and they moved quickly to fix it. But hopefully platforms like Xbox, using these features on the platform level will help prevent things like that from happening when dev teams, which are clearly overworked, like CD Projekt Red's team was on Cyberpunk, happen to miss big things like that when they go to certification. So kudos to you, Microsoft. The next piece of Microsoft news was almost a little bit of a blip on the radar this week, but it's still, I think, an important one worth mentioning about the FPS Boost feature that they are now using for Series X and Series X for backwards compatibility games. Now, the first list of first-person shooters that are, taking advantage of this, not super exciting. I mean, we've got Far Cry 4, Super Lucky's Tale, which it's hilarious if they're calling that an FPS.
Sure.
Sniper Elite 4, UFC 4, also not what I think of when I think FPS games. But Watch Dogs 2, I guess, is, up there. But what do you guys think about this FPS Boost feature and what it can do for backwards compatibility?
I think it's the future potential of what this is going to do as they obviously implement more games into it that are truly going to take advantage of it. Obviously, your shooters, things like that, where you want a high frame rate. It's just the fact that they're going to truly utilize the horsepower that these new consoles provide and uplift these older games, to basically make them more compatible with what people's expectations are going to be with next generation titles as far as frame rate goes, the auto HDR feature, things like that. So it's good that they're getting the news out now that, hey, we can do this. Like you're saying, the titles that it's launching with are very lacking, but I think we'll look back at this by the end of 2021 and we'll go, wow, they've really improved this game because of this feature, things like that. So ultimately, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Excited to
I think
see.
one of the
Excited to see what it does. And
Yeah,
something
I'm
besides Super Lucky's Tale.
That now that at least that one is going to 120 frames. You know, like you said, what does that really matter in the grand scheme of a game like that? But the fact that they can do that with the Xbox hardware, I think it's a good thing.
One of the more interesting parts about this entire part of the discussion, both the accessibility and the frame rate boost on some of this stuff, isn't just the fact that Microsoft is continuing to build upon their newest consoles in a more comprehensive and player centric way. The funniest part about this is like the competition, air quotes competition, hasn't said anything yet about stuff that they're trying to do to make their OS better, their hardware a little bit faster. All the same complaints that people had at launch, people still have. I find that to be really, really interesting in terms of the conversation.
Are you are you speaking specifically about PlayStation there, Kahlief?
Oh yeah, I mean, of course, the Switch with hypotenuse challenger in their game.
I mean, the Switch is not part of the FPS conversation. Let's be real. I mean,
No, it's not.
Yeah, Apex is coming to Switch, sure, like, but still, it's not the same.
But it is really telling that right now, in terms of the conversation, even if you have the conversation online, of course, we're going to remove the fanboys out of this for a second. But I think the air in the room around, which console is still kind of the hot console to get, not just because of, lack of physical units out in the world and scalpers doing what they do. But if you take a temperature in the room, PlayStation still has really good kudos in terms of brand awareness and folks kind of being like super excited for it in comparison to Xbox. But Xbox, just like they did towards the end of last generation, is giving way more value, giving lots of different things for the player to kind of, make their experiences better. And they're still not getting the love they deserve for it. It is really interesting to see how that has kind of transpired.
That they're not getting the love they deserve?
Oh yeah. Like, it is wild to see just how much they're not getting their due.
Perception is reality when it comes to that, and Microsoft just doesn't have the greatest reputation from the mistakes of the previous generation. They're still paying the price for that. So I do agree with Kahlief when it comes to that. I would also say to what you're saying, Kahlief, part of why you're seeing Microsoft quickly doing enhancements to their console versus what PlayStation is doing, Microsoft is a technology company. This is literally what they do. Whereas Sony, I think Sony will obviously get there as well with the PlayStation 5, but it's just going to take them more time. But I mean, when you have a technology company that is used to synergizing with software and hardware, they're obviously partnering with AMD as well and working closely with them, you're going to start to see these improvements. But even though they've announced this, they still don't have the games that are ready to take advantage of it because, sorry, I'm not going to play UFC 4. I'm not going to do that.
That's it. I was going to say
That's
at the
the
beginning of your comment, you talking about how they're focusing on tech. And I'd be like, is it because their console is really just like an up-res version of the one they put out like a couple years ago?
well, I mean, if you think about that in the reverse, right? There are a couple of games on the PlayStation 5 right now that I feel are, cut above what you have an expectation for on both consoles in this space. For me, it's about giving me the idea around what should I have an expectation for from a usability standpoint, from a technology standpoint, from a, even from a PR standpoint. Microsoft has been extremely nimble, and we're going to get into another part of the conversation with the next story, been extremely nimble in terms of keeping the cycle going, in terms of what's to come, what's the things that's happening. Even when they mess up, they still are in the cycle in a reasonable way where people can engage with them. I've not seen anyone from PlayStation on a show, on a blog, in an article since Cerny did his one thing at GDC, how many years ago at this point? That is a problematic thing for me, not only just because we're doing this as press, but as a consumer, as a person who has the damn machine behind me. Well, I want to make sure that things are being discussed in a way that feels like the gripes and the things that we're hoping for as a consumer are being addressed in a reasonable way.
That's never been PlayStation's style, though.
Exactly.
They've never had that conversation with the fans. I mean, it was interesting, before we started the show, we were talking about Clubhouse, and we'll probably get into some Clubhouse stuff later. But, it was interesting how Aaron Greenberg has been running this clubhouse every week with Jeff Keighley, This Week in Gaming, which I know Kahlief and Parris have been a part of. You know, he had Adam Boyes on last night, former suit douche, as he called himself from PlayStation, which made my husband laugh because they work together. And he talked about the story of how he and Shuhei, you know, got that share video, which went viral at that E3 so many years ago. And that was really kind of like the end of like the fun time for PlayStation executives, because after that, going forward, it was all very, very buttoned up. I even remember at PSX when Gio Corsi went on stage with a Vita and how he got in trouble for it later.
Oh,
we were like, wait, why?
It's so... You would think, and Nintendo is the same sort of way, right? I mean, I feel like when you have like these important conversations about accessibility and whatnot, that I love that Xbox is so front and center, and it feels like there's someone actually listening to what you have to, your concerns and whatnot. There's someone engaging with you. And yeah, PlayStation's never done that, and Nintendo's another one where I feel like, you know, we could complain to the high heavens about a certain accessibility issue and we would just get zip nada from response from them. And even looking at Bowser's Fury, that game that just came out, there's some required motion controls in that game. I'm like, why? Like, what are you not listening and paying attention to the conversations that are happening? And I think this is working incredibly well for Microsoft. I think they're building a lot of goodwill, not only through what they offer as a company, but just like that voice they have. They feel like they're one of the folks that you can just hang out with and talk with and actually have your opinion heard. And I would hope that eventually, like, that button up suit douche type of mentality will go away. Because I feel like, then again, though, do they need a change? Look how fucking successful they both are.
That's my point.
It, right?
But that's kind of my point. PlayStation has little incentive to change their strategy, because what they're going to look at you and say, Last of Us 2, God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, Miles Morales, Demon Souls, Sackboy, Astro's Playroom, Ratchet and Clank, the list goes on. We can talk about all these services and all these cool things that Xbox is doing, and trust me, I applaud them and I love them. But PlayStation is going to counter, what's the thing that you want to do with your console? You want to play great games. Well, there you go. Go play your great games, right? That's what their counter is going to be to all of that. Now, I think Microsoft has a chance here in the next couple of years to change that narrative, to say, hey, we got all these cool services, we do all these cool accessibility things, and oh, by the way, here's, I don't know, Starfield and freaking Forza and Halo Infinite and, you know, Avowed and Fable, and they're going to have Perfect Dark. They're going to start to have all these games too. Right now, they don't have those games, and that's part of the problem. We can say we love Xbox and all the goodwill that they're trying to build, but at the end of the day, the argument's always going to be, but where are the games?
100%.
So that's what they got to get.
And
I'll add this
Parris,
one last
you
point.
talk
Okay,
a lot
sorry.
about Xbox on your other hosting gig, Kind of Funny's XCast. When can people
Yes, I
watch
do.
that?
You can watch that every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific
And where can you watch that?
on YouTube.
Oh no! YouTube.com/Kind of Funny Games.
Greg,
We love
you
Kind of
didn't see
Funny
that.
here at What's
Yeah,
Good. Don't worry, I got your back, Parris.
I'm clipping this, Parris, and I'm
I'm
holding it over
definitely
your
having
head.
Snowbike Mike throw you under the bus.
Oh,
though,
that's great.
Parris, the next time you have a bad oatmeal raisin cookie take, I'm clipping this and I'm sharing it all over social media. I got you. Got you now.
You can find it on the internet. That's my answer. It's on the internet.
Oh my god! And real quick before we move to that other story, and Britt, you nailed that actually, and I didn't remember this until you shared it. Was this again is the differences between a very American company and two Japanese companies, and that part of the conversation is in there in terms of how that stuff maneuvers. So thank you for bringing that up. That definitely pulled that back into focus.
Indeed. All right, well, we're getting close to the end of our news block, but we will have to talk about
Yes,
this
please.
wireless headset that Xbox unveiled this week. It's going to be available starting March 16th for $99. It's the first wireless Xbox headset, writes The Verge, since the Xbox 360 days, and it's designed to connect with both Xbox One, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, PCs, and mobile devices via Bluetooth. It is, of course, also designed to match your Xbox Series X with special technology like Windows Sonic, Dolby Atmos, and DTS Headphone X spatial sound technologies.
Ooh, I like the way you said that.
It's supposed to last up to 15 hours on a single battery charge, and you can charge it for just 30 minutes over USB-C. We'll let you play for around 4 hours. A full charge does take around 3 hours, though, according to The Verge. Microsoft is going to be updating the Xbox Accessories app to include control over the equalizer, bass boost, audio mute sensitivity, mic monitoring, and brightness. I didn't know that brightness was a thing that you
The
were
mic's
hearing
mute mic.
about in your multiplayer
Mute
sessions.
light. Mike mute light. You can't have that mute light all like, blinding you out of the corner of your eye. Andrea, come on.
We're trying to sneak in some games at night, you want to go stealth mode?
Yeah. You don't want your significant other to yell at you.
Turn the bright. Turn
And
the
then this
brightness
part
of
I
the
also
light
saw
down.
people really were excited about. You can also pair the headset to your phone, allowing you to listen to audio or take calls from your phone while you game.
So that to me is probably the biggest
Oh yeah.
selling point. Very,
Yeah.
very few headsets allow you to Bluetooth connect to your mobile device and connect to your console. Almost all of the top-end gaming headsets and even the mid-range ones use a dongle, and this is a dongle-less control headset. Dongle-less. I
Hate
mean,
dongles.
listen, I'll pull up the trailer. I think it looks sleek. The price point is good, but
Yeah.
Parris, as you were mentioning, it's got to be comfortable.
Yeah, it's the comfort. I mean, I love all the features that it has. Like you said, the price is good, but if it's not comfortable, then what's the point? So we'll see. Obviously, when reviews start coming out.
Also, the going back to the you can connect it to your phone and play at the same time. This I didn't think about this until just now. This solves my playing with people in Discord version.
Discord chat while
I did not
playing.
think about that until now.
I literally didn't think of that until you
So
just said
Because
it.
so
I
many
don't-
folks do that.
Maybe
Yeah.
somebody can confirm. Did they confirm that you can connect to your phone and the console at the same time?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, because that
Stein
is
was
definitely
joking
game
about that on
changing for
Twitter.
people who use Discord.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That saves that whole thing because I used to hate trying to put in an
Mhm.
earpod underneath my headset
Oh,
Mhm.
so I could play with people who are playing on Discord because most of these games don't have cross chat and they
Yep.
don't have ways to be able to do that stuff. And now I'd be able to do that directly. And I think the Microsoft the game app itself will let you do party chat through mobile. So if you wanted to do it there as well, you'd be able to kind of, double dip if you wanted to.
Also,
I'd be-
switching between game audio and chat audio. Like I know, Andrea, we went back and forth on Twitter
I
about
saw
this
that. I saw
earlier.
that.
We did. I swear to you, there is no way to do it with my Logitech on the PlayStation. It just doesn't exist in my options. It's grayed out. I can't move the slider. It is driving me to insanity. Like it is so
Mhm.
difficult because I literally every time I switch to play anything on PlayStation with party chat, I have to physically go into every single game and change the music and then the sound effects and then the character chatter, every
Oh.
single slider so that I can hear people in my party chat in those headphones. And it is so time consuming and so frustrating and so annoying on stream.
Yeah,
Like
that
this
feels
solves
like a
so many
technical
problems.
problem we got fixed for you that's not supposed to happen.
Maybe
but I'm with
error,
you.
very
What she was
possible,
mentioning
but
is
if
on
it
Twitter,
exists-
I had said most headsets have that, and I corrected myself to say that most like mid to high end gaming headsets specifically. There's
Mhm.
obviously like a bazillion different kinds of headsets out there. We're going to be talking to you about one of our sponsored headsets, the Logitech G733, a little bit later on in the show, which I love. But I mean, there is a lot of bang for $99 here. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's a pretty good offering. Like, the only like Achilles heel is gonna be if it's wild uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, those cups
Bro.
don't give me a lot of a lot of hope. I'm still excited for it, but
not
it's like
not into these cups, huh?
The
no,
large
because
leather ear cups cost.
because
Large leather
weirdly
ear cups.
the Sony PS5 headset
The Pulse.
it is not comfortable at
Oh,
all.
I
Yeah.
know. I'm so bummed. It's like I cannot wear it.
I
It's
tried
not
to.
comfortable.
I can't. Yeah. I just go back to my Astros.
There you go.
I mean,
Yeah.
Product
classic.
placement for you.
They're classic, but they're also very expensive. They do have an entry level now, the A10s, But I mean, I think Astro has long since defined what quality is in the gaming headset space. But they are a premium product that most people aren't going to shell out $250 for their gaming headset. So I think $99 is a really good entry price point. And these are going to sell like hotcakes without a doubt. But like, I'm just... why did they have to put the green stripe on it? Couldn't they have just like left
you
it
didn't
all
like the
black?
green stripe?
I like the
Brandon.
green
You don't
stripe.
Green stripe?
No, I
like it.
don't.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, I don't mind it.
Mm.
I don't
Oh,
need my
like-
headset to scream. I'm an Xbox headset. Like, come on.
But how you
Andy-
know?
Andy's like, I want to. Andy's like, I want a light mute for the green stripe.
Yes.
Can
do
I
I
mute this
mute
green
that?
stripe?
Do I have to paint over it? Come on.
Oh, you take a Sharpie and just like fill it in. You'll be
That's
fine.
a
That's a great art
sticker.
project for a weekend.
You know, I've got plenty of Sharpies here. I can make this happen. I just want them to put out an all white SKU and then we'll be good to go.
That would
Oh,
be
yeah.
that would be nice.
To
Or
match
and
the
the weird
Xbox
thing is,
Series
like,
S. Oh, it'll be perfect.
and also they just put out so many really great controller colors. Like there would be so many
Yes.
beautiful colors if they could dip and dive into that. That would be cool.
Oh, yes, if they made a headset like customization lab like they do for the controllers.
Mhm.
Kind of like what
Yeah.
Astro was doing with their ID headset.
Yes.
Mhm.
Ooh, got some
Yes.
good thoughts.
Everybody loves skins.
All right, so we got just a couple quick bullet points here. There's a class action lawsuit currently being brought against Sony for the DualSense drift issue. Now, we didn't pull this whole story, but Victor Hensley wrote in at patreon.com/what'sgoodgames and says, is controller drift going to be new normal that we're going to have to deal with a ton moving forward? Obviously, the Switch Joy-Cons and now the PS5 DualSense controllers have drift issues, but I don't feel like this was ever a problem in the past, or maybe I just don't remember. Why do you think that is?
It was a problem before. It was a problem on the DualShock 3, I believe, because it was a weird thing where if dust got underneath the sticks, it would throw off the way that the controller would work.
I had it on an old 360 controller.
Yeah, I mean,
was
it's
old.
been there. Yeah, it's been there in various different versions of stuff because, we're using and beating those things up all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
So, it winds up being a thing. I really had a small case of the drifts with my DualShock, my DualSense the other day, and turning it on and turning it off again fixed it. Which was one of those, weird syncing things that wind up being in the space. I don't know if it's something that's just like extra, devices around you, because I have a lot of devices around me all the time, that caused it to be a problem, but it was noticeable in a way that made me like, what is happening? I don't know what's going on with my game.
Wait,
and I know
suck
I'm not.
this bad? What's
Yeah, I was
happening?
like, it was literally one of those like, oh crap, am I this old moments? I was like, what is happening right now? But turning it on and turning it off again fix it. So
That's good.
We'll see.
We had
Yeah.
some bad drift with the Joy-Con, but we took it apart, performed surgery, and put a little piece of foam in there. And for the most part, that seemed to have fixed it. For some
Aw.
reason, I don't really understand how that works, but
I might have to
don't know.
look up what this surgery entails because I've lost 2 Joy-Cons to the drift now.
so
Mm.
fucked up. That's so bad.
And one of them was my Zoom one from Japan.
Oh.
That
oh,
John
no.
got.
Oh,
Lost it to
Yeah.
the drift. Very sad.
Mm.
Very sad.
But the lawsuit alleges that Sony's action with the DualSense significantly interferes with gameplay and compromises the controller's core functionality, and that the actions was fraudulent, deceptive, unlawful, and unfair, especially
Ooh.
considering the limited repair options available for the issue. I don't anticipate this going anywhere, quite honestly, but
No.
if you are having DualSense drift issues and you want to get in on the class action lawsuit, the law firm is Chemicals?
You mean it's not
Schwartz,
Dewey,
Kreiner,
Cheatham, and Howe?
Donaldson Smith LLP.
Oh,
I
boy.
don't know. Lawyer names, man.
I mean, I want to know how many twirled mustaches are working at that bad boy.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more of these popping up too, because Nintendo has like, what, 3 against them right now?
Yeah.
And so now that the PS5 is starting to like show theirs, people are like, oh, well, we know we can sue people over this. Maybe make a quick buck. Who could say? But who knows what's going to happen? It's just technology, man. It sucks.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember back in the day on the older consoles and the controllers that if you're accidentally pressing on a certain button when you booted up the console, your little like cursor on screen would just like constantly go in
Yeah.
that direction?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was real drift. I don't want to hear about this little shit here.
Back in my day, we had real
Back in our day.
literal Tokyo drift at this point.
Literal.
All right. Well, that is going to do it. Unless you guys really want to talk about this Jack Black casting for Claptrap.
Sounds cool, I guess.
I'm more mad that Kevin Hart's in that movie. I don't understand.
Right? Thank you.
I don't understand
I was like, really, of all the cool actors they could have got to play Roland, they went with Kevin Hart?
Yeah,
I mean, there's a height requirement. You can't put Kevin Hart in that.
Oh, snap.
I'm just saying. I want to be there when they put the boots on them and they have lifts in the boots. That's going to be real dope to see little Kevin Hart rocking that thing, talking crap to people.
Who knows? Maybe maybe
Kevin.
he'll look great. They can do a lot of things with cinema magic.
Yeah,
I mean, there's going to be a lot of.
Low
They're going to Unreal Engine him to be tall.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Before we take our first break of the show, does anybody have any comments that they want to add about the ongoing story that we saw released on Kotaku about Google Stadia behind the scenes about what went down? I feel like it's very much like, yeah, that seems like we've already talked about that and how Google like completely bungled everything about Stadia. Cool. Glad we're on the same page. Excellent.
Yep. Great.
And on that note, we're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, we're going to talk about what we've been playing. Stick with us, everybody. We'll see you in a minute.
Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Here is when we talk about what we've been playing and any preview events that we've been to. But first, I would like to talk to you about Audible. So Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment all in one place. At Audible, you can find the largest selection of audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers and new releases to celebrity memoirs, languages, business, motivation, and more. Original entertainment from top celebrity creators and thousands of popular and binge-worthy podcasts. As an Audible member, you will get 1 credit every month, good for any title in their entire premium selection. That means the latest bestseller or that bucket list title you've been meaning to pick up. Those titles are yours to keep forever in your Audible library. You also get full access to their Popular Plus catalog. It's filled with thousands and thousands of audiobooks, original entertainment, guided fitness and meditation, sleep tracks for better rest, and podcasts, including ad-free versions of your favorite shows and exclusive series. All are included with your membership, so you can download and stream all you want. No credits needed. Talked about this last time. I don't read a lot of books, it's just not my thing, but I do love reading zombie books. Go figure. No one's surprised by this. So they have some of my favorite series on there. There's World War Z by Max Brooks in his The Zombie Survival Guide. There's Day by Day Armageddon by J.L. Bourne, which is a really great journal-style zombie series, which I highly, highly recommend. And then one of my all-time favorites, which is The Morningstar Saga by Z.A. Rex. If you're looking for an uplifting, spoilers, they're not uplifting, zombie title to read in this day and age, I would highly recommend, or listen to, if you want to listen to them, finding them on Audible. So with everything you love to listen to all in one app, Audible is your playlist for life. New members can always try Audible for 30 days on us. Visit audible.com/what'sgood or text what's good to 500-500. That's audible.com/what'sgood or text what's good to 500-500.
Beautiful. I loved it. Uplifting zombie stories, something everybody needs in their day-to-day life.
There's no such thing.
Wait, what about Warm Bodies? That was an uplifting zombie story.
Kind of, but he's just dead.
But they fell in love.
She fell in love with a dead man, Ree.
But then, spoilers, it was all better.
Also, Weekend at Bernie's.
That's not really a zombie. Okay, we're off track now. Let's talk about what we've been playing. Now, I'm really excited to talk to our guests about the very diverse set of games that we have listed here in the show notes. So I think maybe it would be interesting to hear, speaking of zombies, from Miss Rihanna about Call of Duty's Zombies new map Firebase Z. So this trailer came out a week and a half ago, roughly. Yeah. And when I was playing with you and Danny, over on Twitch the other night, y'all were trying to get me to play zombies, and I was like, but zombies scares me.
I think that is so funny because zombies doesn't scare me at all, and we know I am not with the spooks. However, zombies on Call of Duty has always been pretty fun. Okay, there are a couple that are a little bit too scary for me, but this one is really fun, and we played the very first night it came out before all of the cinematics and Easter eggs were actually live. So we got a chance to like mess around with the map, figure out the layout, see all of the new guns and the new zombie styles. There is like this mimic looking zombie that is really terrifying and difficult to kill. But we played a few times since then, and a couple of things that I really like about this map, Firebase C, is the story. I did watch a full playthrough where people successfully unlocked everything and they got all of the cutscenes, and so I did spoil myself quite a bit, which is fine because I'll probably never do it myself successfully. But it was really cool that they integrate trials into this new Firebase Z map. So the way that works is you get a few points, you kill a couple zombies, put up a couple boards, maybe grab a little drink or something to give yourself a power up, and then you hit a portal. And if you remember in the previous zombies maps, there's all of these world bending aspects. And here you have this actual portal that you go through and you enter a new section of the map. And once you're there, you can choose to initiate different trials that you and the people that you're playing with will attempt to level up in order to get different levels of rewards. So you have, your common reward, a rare reward, I think an epic, and maybe there's a legendary. We weren't that good. I didn't see it myself. So possibly.
It's Danny's fault. It's not you, it's Danny.
Yeah, I'm gonna blame it all on Danny, even though he's very, very good at zombies. But it's pretty cool because it gives you this sort of game within a game aspect. Like, of course, you're trying to go to all the generators, bring power to the station so you can use the pack-a-punch and call in the helicopter once you feel like you've done enough damage, and good luck getting there because there's a whole lot of zombies as you're seeing in the B-roll right now. But what's even cooler is that you have a moment to do mini challenges and feel like you're actually making some progress, even if you never see the end game. And that's always been a difficult thing with zombies, is that it's very difficult to get to the final boss and actually complete the entire story. But with the trials, it lets you, for instance, like stay in the helicopter zone for as long as possible, or kill as many zombies as possible with headshots and critical shots. And it makes it feel a lot more rewarding because you can walk away with some achievement, even if you were completely wrecked. And I really appreciated that addition, and especially with the map Firebase Z, it makes it very, very approachable.
Now, is this the kind of map where if you lose, you have to start all over again?
I mean, if everybody's down, so
Okay.
so there's different ways that you can try to revive yourself. Like there's a tombstone perk where if you die, you can try to fight your way back to your dead body and revive yourself. Good luck though, because your corpse and your ghost form are both susceptible to zombie damage, so you still have to fight even though you're in ghost
Wait,
form.
how does your ghost form be susceptible to zombie damage? That feels unfair.
Yeah.
Zombies are dead. They can punch ghosts. I don't know.
Dang it.
It sucks. It's a little tough. But there's quick revives, different things you can do. But once all 4 players are down, that's it. You have to start all the way over.
Okay.
But if you are lucky enough to, get that one person who's gonna, save the day and Rambo and kite all the zombies around the helicopter in a circle and just slowly pick them off one by one as they turn around and keep refilling their ammo, like I had to do on stream the other day, then everybody comes back once you finish that wave and clear all the zombies. So it is a little forgiving. It's definitely not the most difficult map of zombies I've played. So that's why I called it more approachable.
Interesting. Now, I do feel a little more compelled to play. The other night when we were talking about it, I had said, I love Horde. You talk about going 0 to 50 in Horde, and I'm there. But there's something about the zombie enemies and how they just relentlessly pursue you that just stresses me out about Call of Duty Zombies. And I know it's such a popular mode. I mean, I think it single-handedly has carried Black Ops, from where it started to where it is now. And like the community around zombies is ravenous for zombies content, and the Easter eggs are really well done, right? But I don't know, it's stressful.
Well, it's all in the daytime, if that helps. Like, that's how I was able to play Resident Evil 5 And then like the enemies are very easy to spot. Like they're not going to sneak up on you. Some of them come out of the ground, but it's like they're
That's
so
fair.
slow and like very bumbling. Like you can easily pick them off. The biggest scary dude is basically just looks like a Mega Man, but like on steroids. So he's not terrifying. He's just large and full of armor. So like it's not as frightening as it is just like challenging compared to
Okay.
other zombies. Like none of their eyeballs are falling out of their face and in your mouth or anything.
Ew.
I'm trying to think of like the grossest version of
love
a zombie. You know, like when there's like
Me and my horror
fighting
loving
them
self,
off.
I'm like, tell me more.
I know, me too. I'm
I know.
"Ooh, these
I'm
are my
like,
kind of
ooh, what
zombies."
game is this? See?
I know. Ooh, ooh.
It's worth a shot. It is.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll start a playthrough with you guys in broad daylight and not in the dark studio, and you can walk me through it because I haven't played a round of zombies probably since Black Ops 3, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
I want in on that session whenever you do it.
Yeah,
do it.
heck yeah. Get
I'm
the gang back together. It'll be great. Parris, you have been playing nothing of the sort of zombies or horror in nature. I guess Control is a little bit suspense. But let's start with Spider-Man Miles Morales. So did you just miss this when the game came out last fall and you're
No,
just getting around to
no.
playing it now?
No, I want to platinum. I'm trying to platinum Miles Morales, so I'm going back playing it again. And I just had such a time with it at launch. It really surprised me because when it got announced during the PS5 reveal, I was one of the people that was super skeptical, going, "Oh man, this is just some glorified expansion pack. Why are they putting this on the PlayStation 5 and trying to chart?" So I wasn't excited for.
You were a hater. You were like,
pretty much. I was a hater, and I
Okay.
admitted it on Twitter like a couple weeks ago when I picked it back up and started playing it again, like how wrong I was about it to judge it before I played it. But it's a fantastic game, and just going through it a second time, I just adore it. I just think the world that Insomniac has created, it literally feels like you're playing a comic book, right? And that's just the best compliment I can give it. Compelling story, got me choked up a couple times towards the end without spoiling anything, and it's just great. Now, I've been playing that just to get the platinum. I'll skip Halo 5 and come back to it. So I've also been playing Control the Ultimate Edition, and that's another one that I'm revisiting for the first time since I played it at launch. And man, it's just such a good game. It really is. I just think it's underrated. Even though it got so many accolades and everything, I still don't feel like it got the justice it deserved. Like the first time I actually got a chance to sit down with it was at Gamescom. And I guess that was 2019, whatever the year was. And shout out to Vita, because she's the community manager over there at Remedy, and she just walked me through the game. And I loved it then. And going back and now playing it, I'm playing it on the Xbox Series X and doing the Ultimate Edition, and it's just great. It's just such, like you said, it's such a Remedy game. It has the suspense there. It has all the weird quirks. The story's compelling. I just love all the different upgrades you can do with your weapons and everything as you go through it. Nice puzzle solving elements as well. It's just fantastic.
I need to go back to that.
You
The
should.
problem
should.
with what we do is we get pre-release builds, and I remember when I got my build of Control, it wasn't broken, like that's too harsh of a word for it, but there were some bugs and some loading times in there that was just like almost unbearable, and there was like this random difficulty spike, and I just got super
Yeah.
frustrated, and then I stopped playing. But it sounds like they've had some interesting DLC added since then as well, and it sounds like this new mode performs really well. So maybe it might be a good time to hop back in.
I would say so, because now that we've had a couple years since it's come out, obviously Remedy has been able to patch it and fix some of the little quirks. And like I said, playing it on the Series X at 60 frames per second, I mean, it's a great experience to play. Highly suggest it. Now, the one I really want to get to, because I was explaining this to Danny, I kind of think I'm hate playing it in a way. I'm playing
I'm glad
Halo
you started
5.
it out that way.
Yeah.
I hate playing it.
Halo 5 is a game that I did not enjoy when it came out, for all the problems. We could probably spend an hour listing here on the show. And because Halo Infinite's coming out at the end of this year, I go, you know what? And I'm talking the campaign. The multiplayer has actually been pretty great on Halo 5 this entire time, but the campaign, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back. I'm going to play it. I want to see with some fresh eyes, do I still feel the same exact way that I felt about Halo 5 when it originally came out? And unfortunately, I do. If anything,
Okay.
Oh, no.
you know, the AI is absolutely atrocious. I
It's
cannot
real bad.
recommend anybody playing this game solo. Just you're like, there was times, and I could bring my son and my wife in here right now. I took my controller and I chucked it across the room and almost broke it because I was that mad at the AI. And just the checkpoint system in there is kind of wonky. Like they have these long stretches without a checkpoint, and then you'll dive something dumb and you got to go all the way back. The level design is clearly catered towards a co-op experience versus a solo experience, and that's why you run into the dumb AI. The story, I still don't understand the story. All these years later, I still don't know what they were trying to accomplish in that story. I don't get it. I don't.
I
And-
feel you. I get it, man. I get it.
but here's the one thing. Here's where I will actually give it props, and what gets me somewhat excited for potentially what Halo Infinite can be. It's one of the best looking games that Xbox has put out in years. It really is. It is a gorgeous game. Playing it, the weapons do feel good when you're playing it. I wish the enemy AI was a little, just, they have an AI problem altogether, but the enemy AI isn't the best either, which is unfortunate, especially because I've played Halo Reach, in the last year or so, and the AI in Halo Reach still holds up to this day. And then you jump into Halo 5 and it just feels broken in comparison. So they screwed up. They know they did. I don't know if you remember the marketing for Halo 5 back, was that 2015 or whatever, when it originally
2013.
Well, no, that was, well, I guess that's when it started, right?
Yeah,
but,
that was like the first
Yeah.
announcement trailer,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The game came out a couple years later.
but the whole Chief versus Locke and, is Chief turning evil? None of that's in
Hunt the
this game.
truth.
Oh my God.
Mhm.
But
yeah.
but I'm gonna play it to the end. I want to see it all the way through, but I can already tell, and I'm getting close to the end. I'm probably about 75% through it already. It's just not a good game. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it. It's a pretty looking game. It has fun guns to shoot, but other than that, I mean, this is why 343 has taken so long with Halo Infinite. It clearly needed a complete overhaul from what they were doing from a story standpoint, from an AI standpoint, from a level design standpoint. And I hope they succeed with Halo Infinite. I really want Halo to be fun again. So I hope it gets back there. But Halo 5 is not it. I can tell you that right now. Definitely, unless you want to hate play it, just do not go play Halo 5.
Oh man.
I
No,
think it's so
get
funny
it.
that you say this because we've talked about Halo. Both Britt and I are big Halo fans. Obviously, Ree and I played through the first couple of Halos on our Twitch channel when we were all getting hyped for Infinite's launch, and then we're like, guess we can push this playthrough out a little while. But yeah, Halo 5 was just a monumental upset for me. Now, for everybody listening, we're specifically talking about the campaign.
Yeah,
They
campaign.
obviously did some really good things with multiplayer, bringing back some classic maps and all that. We're not really going to dive into that. You're specifically, Parris, talking about hate playing the campaign, correct?
Yeah, correct. 100% just the campaign. Like you said, the multiplayer, the Warzone stuff, everything they've done, some of the arena maps that they have, they're great. There's no issue with that at all. But my God, the campaign is just, it's not good.
Shout out to Luke Cage.
I have a story I'll tell of boycott, but I have a story about him.
Oh, no, I know, Britt, you were going to say something, and then I kind of like stepped on you. So
Oh, I
about
like it when you
Halo.
step on me, like Lady D from Resident Evil Village.
Lady D.
Lady D. Oh no, I was just gonna ask Parris. It sounds like you do have faith though that Craig the Brute will look real good in Infinite.
I think so. I
Okay.
think one of the best things that Microsoft did was they immediately listened to the feedback they got after that initial reveal. And whoever the leadership, whoever made the call, Bonnie Ross, Phil Spencer, whoever, they were smart enough to say, pull the plug, don't release this. I mean, we've obviously seen like Cyberpunk, don't release a game if it's not ready. And clearly Halo Infinite was not ready. So now 343 has more time to make Craig look pretty. So I'm excited to see Craig.
Or Craig.
Because I tell you now, that would be one of the smartest things they could do when they ramp up the marketing. Make it about Craig.
Oh,
Show off
Craig's
Do you
coming
like
back.
a makeover reveal, right?
Yeah.
Where they have Craig like behind some curtains or whatever, and like
Yeah.
pull the curtains out, play some music. He comes strutting out.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Glow up. for Craig.
Yes, exactly. Or Craig.
Do you
Craig, you're
think
beautiful
that
the way you are.
because they've delayed it now twice and it's such a long delay, that now the expectations are even more inflated than they were, and that there's even more pressure on 343 to deliver something bigger? Kai, you're nodding yes.
Oh
100%.
yeah.
Oh yeah, 100% yes. Go ahead, Kyle. Sorry.
Oh no. I was just gonna say yeah. Like the if you thought the expectations were big before, now you have like Craig pressure. You have HD pressure.
Pressure. I love that.
You have all the stuff that you didn't like. Again, we're waiting for this game that is going to be the flagship for the Xbox at this point. And for 343, them being, them taking their lumps and then going back and being really contrite, which I think was really smart on their point to say, we didn't hit our vision. We understand that these things are necessary to kind of be in the next gen space. They have a lot of pressure on them to kind of come out the gates really strong, probably even more than when they did before they had the original kind of first showing. Absolutely.
But you hit on it, Kyle, when you said the flagship. This is the flagship for everything that Xbox does. This Halo Combat Evolved, there is no Xbox right now without Halo Combat Evolved. And they cannot screw this up. I've been saying this for years at this point, but they cannot screw up Halo. So I'm so glad that they realize that when this thing launches, it needs to launch in as perfect of a state as they can possibly get it from a development standpoint, and just hit the ground running with it. Because if this comes out and we're doing Craig memes and just all this other stuff, I mean, it will have repercussions that go beyond Halo. Number one, Halo will be a must-have, oh my God, can't wait till it launches experience. It's going to be a wait and see experience. So they can't do that, number one. But number two, it's going to feed into the reputation that I talked about before, that Xbox doesn't have any great AAA games. Look, you can't even get Halo right. Why would I expect you to get any of these other games right? So yeah, I do agree. There's a lot of pressure on 343 to nail this, especially coming off what is a disaster of Halo 5. I have been able to reconfirm that it is not a good game. So you have to nail this when they do Halo.
And as friend of the show, Zombie Kills likes to remind us, it costs $500 million to make Halo Infinite, which is obviously an unconfirmed number and probably not true. 250 million, a little bit more realistic. But regardless, you're right. They're spending hundreds of millions of dollars. They cannot fall on their face when Halo Infinite does finally launch. Hopefully this fall we'll be able to see for ourselves, or hopefully they'll invite us to a preview event beforehand and not keep us in the dark. Don't CD Projekt Red us, Microsoft. Don't do it.
Ooh.
Kahlief, I've been very anxious to talk to you about Amazon Luna. So what made you decide to pick up Amazon Luna and give it a whirl?
Because of Stadia's magical demise. To be honest, like seriously, the funniest thing was right when the Stadia, first party stuff came out, I got an email in my inbox that was like, "Hey, you have 2 days left before you can get a Luna controller that you put your name on a list for, and come check out our stuff." Because I'd done that months and months and months ago when they first kind of announced it. There was a thing that you could kind of jump in early on. And yeah, it's an interesting space. Again, we find ourselves in the not beginnings of the cloud gaming experience, but we find ourselves in a space where cloud gaming is now becoming a thing that is viable in a real way, of course, depending upon your network speeds and depending upon all those technical parts of it. But Luna as an idea is interesting because one, it has a lot of connection, of course, directly to Amazon. During the initial parts of the conversation, there was a huge connection to Twitch, which is also very, very important if they're going to get this thing off the ground in a real fashion. The weirdest part about it to me currently is kind of hitching your horses to Ubisoft Plus, which I think is an interesting space to kind of dig into as the kind of main way you're going to get a lot of your content, which I think is, I don't know if that's the right move, because some of the games that are on that particular platform would really be well to be just in a space that's just on console and PC. I don't know if latency for most of the games that we find in that space are going to be worth that kind of investment for most people. And to be honest, you know, the experience that I had initially booting up everything wasn't that great. The onboarding part was actually fairly well done. They give you an app basically to kind of connect to your phone, so you can start the process of downloading whatever bits you need to kind of make that work. But you know, playing it on two different devices, I played it on a Chrome browser and checked out Metro 20 whatever the number it was.
Metro Exodus.
Metro Exodus, yes, that one. Sorry, and played that, and it felt really sluggish for a first-person shooter game, which again is not supposed to feel sluggish. It's one of those games,
and which looks gorgeous on Xbox One X.
Yes.
I loved Metro Exodus. It was one of my favorite games of 2019. Like, I sang that game's praises. If you guys missed it, it's great. I saw it was on Luna. I didn't open it up. I instead opened some stuff in Ubisoft, which I'll talk about in just a second, but please continue.
Yeah, it was, and I opened it up, and interestingly enough, it looked really good. It looks fantastic. But again, anything that we do when we talk about, you know, cloud-based gaming, it's all about feel. And if that feel isn't there, then that automatically sets a disconnect in your mind to be able to say that you're having a good time with it. I did play a little bit of it, didn't feel great. And then I played a sports game, AO Tennis, which is all about the Australian Open because I love tennis. And that felt fairly good. I played that on mobile. I played that on my iPhone in a Safari browser, and that felt really good. Like, I was able to feel like I was able to play that game in the way that I had expectations for a game like that to feel, and it looked really good on my iPhone 12,000 plus 7 Max, whatever I have. It looked great, and that part was fantastic to be able to say, like, if I wanted to, I could absolutely play this on my phone or an iPad in a way that felt comparable to me playing on console. The one change that I did make and I need to go back and test this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Andy, is there's a way to basically make it use Bluetooth as opposed to Wi-Fi, and I automatically turned that on, which was the thing that I felt would give me a better response to the games that I was playing. I need to check it out on Wi-Fi to see if that feels just as good or if it feels worse or better. But that was the thing I tried out and made that analog there. So
spoilers, it feels worse to not to use the other thing.
Basically,
correct. It's interesting because seeing the parallels between Luna and Stadia is obvious, right? Like they both are like trying to tout this magical cloud streaming, and the technology just isn't ready yet. Obviously, Stadia saw that writing on the wall and was like, we're just pulling all of our funds from our first development or first party studios. We didn't even talk about it in the news about the trouble with Amazon's MMO that got bumped again, and all of the development problems that Amazon's having with their internal studios. But when it comes to Luna, I mean, at least like the library is pretty decent. But the problem is, like, they suffer from the same thing that Stadia did, is that the library is only decent if you pay a bunch of extra money. And it's like people don't want to pay, for Stadia it was $10 a month to get Stadia Pro, when you can pay $10 a month to get Xbox Game Pass. And now with Luna, they're doing an introductory price of $5.99 a month, but that does not include access to 4K gaming, which isn't even available on Luna right now. You can only do 1080p, 60 FPS if you are in Luna Plus, and that's how you can get access to games like Control or games like Metro Exodus. Again, games that are 2 years old, right? And then I decided, because I had to check out a proper shooter on Luna, I paid $14.99 to Ubisoft for Ubisoft Plus. And I was like, I own this game already. Why am I paying this? This doesn't make sense. But I have to do it for science.
Right.
And so I was like, I got to try Rainbow Six Siege on Luna. And boy, oh boy, was that a rough Chuckles experience.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
So I love playing Siege. Y'all know this. And I've put many, many hours into that game, and it looked rough. When John was watching me play it on our television in the living room through the Amazon Fire Stick, very much like using the Chromecast for Stadia, he's like, that looks like a 360 game. And I was like, oh, kind of right. So really having some connectivity issues, and our home Wi-Fi speeds are good. You can get an Ethernet USB adapter for a Fire Stick, I believe, so you can hardwire, but I don't know how much that would actually help or hinder, because you're still relying on the streaming connection to whatever PC is hooked up in Amazon server farm. The real struggle that I had was that, unlike Stadia, which is its own SKU and own build, Amazon's Luna is a PC build. So I was being match made with Rainbow Six PC players.
Oh my God.
That's a slaughter.
And they're like all like typing in the chat, and here's me bumbling around with the controller trying to go into cursor mode. Like, I can't type with this thing. I don't know what I'm doing. The drift was bad. So the default for Luna is the cloud direct technology that they talk to, their proprietary controller tech, just like Stadia had their proprietary controller tech. So I tried that out because it's the recommended way to play, especially since when I'm on any other Wi-Fi device, I can get over 100 megabits per second speed on Wi-Fi, which is pretty good Wi-Fi speed, I would say. Yeah. And when we're hardwired, we can get between 800 and 900 megabits per second. So we have pretty fast internet, but it was just the drift between when I would shoot bullets and when they would actually leave my gun was not really conducive to competitive Rainbow Six play, I have to say. So after one round, we were successful. And I only got killed one time, so I was very proud because I was like, ooh, this is really bad. I just gotta try to hide in a corner and not engage anybody so these PC players don't think that I'm trash and report me. But yeah, it wasn't great. So the one thing that I did find a little magical, and this is more on the magical Ubisoft technology side than it is on Luna, is that I decided to test out Assassin's Creed Valhalla because I've been playing a ton of this game. I'm over 120 hours into the game, just loving it. I'm playing it on my Xbox Series X, and it looks just breathtakingly gorgeous. It's just a beautiful, beautiful game. So I was like, okay, I know it's going to be in 1080p instead of in 4K, but I'm going to check it out. Because with Ubisoft Connect, they've added Connect support for Valhalla. I was able to seamlessly, didn't have to download a single thing. That's the magic of the cloud. Boot up Assassin's Creed Valhalla, open my save to exactly where I left off on my Xbox, and start playing immediately. And that, to me, is the magic of what these cloud platforms have to offer, but it's just not realized yet because then it looked like trash. I was like, oh! I was like, it's so cool that I don't have to install the game and install the patches, and my cloud save from Ubisoft Connect was just boom, it was right there, right where I left Eivor, in Ravensthorpe, ready to go, but it just looked like booty. And I was like, no! I was disappointed. And it's just back to what we said about Stadia. The potential is enormous. They are just not ready yet.
No.
It just reflects and tells me just how good xCloud is. To be honest, it's the one service, and GeForce Now has been fairly okay in terms of what I've been able to play on that platform as well. It's been those two have been the shining stars when it comes to cloud-based experiences right now. And those are the ones that I would recommend when people are like, which cloud service should I mess around and play with? I'm like, oh, go to xCloud or go to GeForce Now because those ones work.
And they have the proper business models to support cloud gaming, which should be supplemental. Whereas, okay, I'm a Game Pass subscriber. If I got a few minutes and I'm on my phone, boop, I can hop on, I can play Spiritfarer or something like that and be on my way. Or even with GeForce Now, these are all games I already, like you just brought up, Andrew. You already own these games on Uplay, right? You just fire up GeForce Now and you go play them, or on Steam or whatever the case may be. That makes more sense to me, at least in these early days of cloud streaming. I could see a decade from now as infrastructure builds up, internet speeds get built better, they can, figure out a way to reduce latency even more. Maybe it could become a practical way to the primary way that you play, but it just simply is not a reality right now, and it won't be anytime soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, echoes a lot of the conversations, we've had here on WGG about cloud gaming in general. I haven't spent enough time with xCloud, but I think what I just whenever I boot up any streaming service, whether it's GeForce Now or Stadia or now Luna, it just reminds me how much I love gaming on my consoles. And the new consoles are just really powerful. And I just don't have a compelling reason, particularly in the pandemic where I'm not traveling anywhere,
Right.
to utilize these services or pay for these services. I just canceled my Google Pro, my Stadia Pro subscription. I was like, why am I paying for this?
I need to do that too.
I need to do that too.
So if you
Friendly
forgot,
reminder, everyone.
you want to go in and cancel your Stadia Pro. And it's just like, I think once travel resumes, because all of us here travel a lot for work events, and I look forward to seeing you all in person again someday at an event where we can play games and have drinks. But that to me, I think will be a better use case for me testing some of these streaming services to see, do I
Agreed.
want to pay for this thing? But right now, paying $5.99 plus $14.99 to have access to the Ubisoft library on Amazon Luna, ain't it? Like,
I appreciate your sacrifice. I'm sure you worked
no,
really
it's
hard
okay.
to get
I don't
money.
mind, because obviously, like, Ubisoft has been very good to me over the years, and they've sent me many game codes to I had no problem being like, please take this money so I can try it out. But I mean, it's cool, but again, it's more on Ubisoft than it is on Luna that they offer this service, and the game offering is great. The overall Luna library, I'm sure you checked through it, Ka, was that it was just kind of like, it was just kind of like lackluster. It was like worse than what Stadia's library is.
Yeah, the hard part is that you wind up getting these games where it feels like I don't want to harp on Nintendo again, but it feels like you're paying for Nintendo stuff. Where you're just like, I know what I should be able to play at this point. There are so many different games that would fit a cloud-based model where you could offset some of the games that you already see from a technical standpoint that you already understand are going to be either not as pretty, or from a reflex and actual controls standpoint, will give you enough buffer to be able to kind of figure out what you're going to be able to do within that space. And it feels like even now, there's just not enough games on any of these services that I care about for me to want to play those things in a real way and spend actual time with it. I do really love the sentiment that you shared though about the cloud save, because I think that is where everything needs to be in the first layers of what the cloud gaming experience needs to be. I need to be able to go anywhere and pull down my save and play it and do that kind of stuff. So I'm happy you shared that part.
Yeah. Good on you, Ubisoft. Now just, add more games to Connect and we'll be good. But good start. Good
God,
start.
you said Connect, and my mind immediately went to the Xbox peripheral Connect.
Same.
I was like, why?
Triggered.
Oh yeah. Dance Central.
Dance Central is a work of art.
Oh,
Agreed.
yes, it is. And I'm not saying that just because my husband worked on all 3 Dance Central games and we have a custom Dance Central Connect in the closet right over there.
That's amazing.
All right. So I talked a little bit about Valhalla. I don't need to talk more about that. Brittany, you have been playing the Trails of series, which you talked about last week. Sounds like you finished Cold Steel and are on to the next game.
I'm very close. Yeah, I don't have a heck of a lot to say about this, but yeah, about like 80 hours in now to Trails of Cold Steel. I don't know what I've gotten myself into. So there's Trails of Cold Steel. Then next there's Trails of Cold Steel 2. And then there's 2 games on Steam only that I'm supposed to play that are apparently also about like 60 hours each. And then from there I can hop into Trails of Cold Steel 3 and then 4. But then there's 2 I don't know, my brain hurts.
So just a little bit of homework that you have to do with this series.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Yakuza series. It's like I start something and I love it so fucking much that I want to just play all of them. But I'm like, I don't have 500 hours, like I did at the beginning of the pandemic. So I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. Probably play some farming games that are coming out because that sounds really fucking relaxing. So yeah, obviously I'm loving the game. I'll talk about it more once I finally finish it, because even though I'm like 80 hours in, I'm still trying to wrap my head around like what the fuck this game is actually about and what's happening. It's a very, very like slow burn game, but very well written. I'm really loving it. The other game I've been playing is Super Mario 3D World. I think that's what, like, I always get those titles all confused because they're fucking confusing. And Bowser's Fury. And I'm just like maybe an hour or so into Bowser's Fury. So I'm like 58 minutes more than what Ree has played of Bowser's Fury, because she said she's only played like 2.5 minutes of it. It's interesting. It's fun. It's, from what I hear, it's only like 3 to 4 hours long. And so I can't help but feel like there's some ulterior motive to Bowser's Fury, and maybe this is me just being kind of mad at Nintendo right now, and maybe I'm speaking through my emotions and not my logic. But I can't help but feel like they're testing something out. Like this is going to be some sort of like prototype for some feature for something going forward. Because the main thing is you have Fury Bowser who like gets pissed off every I don't know how many minutes, and he comes out and then like he attacks you for a couple minutes and then he goes away, and yeah, I mean, it seems like it's fine. The co-op doesn't work super well in Bowser's Fury because one person plays Bowser Jr., but they while they can control, it's the kind of thing where you share one screen, so Mario and Bowser Jr., and then both people can control the camera, which as you can imagine can get very it can make you feel very nauseous very very quickly. So I had to tell Jason, I'm like, listen, I love you, but if you touch that camera control, I'm gonna divorce your ass.
That's like a terrible idea, giving both players camera control.
Yeah, it wasn't great. So he has been prohibited from touching the analog stick. I'm like, don't you touch it. And then now it kind of works. But it's kind of that weird thing where I can't really run because then he can't keep up with me because then he doesn't know like how I'm going to turn the camera. So I have to kind of like walk. It's fine. It clearly wasn't built around co-op, which is like, okay. But it's kind of a bummer, especially going from the main Super Mario 3D World, which is like centered around multiplayer and co-op because they've actually implemented online play now to go to this. But I'm going to play more of it because I'm only maybe like an hour in, see what the deal is, see what it's all about. So far it seems chill, but nothing like crazy. But if you miss Super Mario 3D World on the Wii U, like everyone else probably did, definitely play it on your Switch. It's really fun. It's just a really good like feel good game. Really chill.
Yeah, I'm into it. And also just like this Bowser, this like Gaijin Bowser, I'm just like here
That's
for.
Fury Bowser. He's really mad. I don't really know why.
That looks cool though. I
Yeah.
like that.
I'm going to say it. It's going to sound really weird, but he's kind of like Daddy Bowser. You know, he's like really fucking like gnarly and pissed and dark and gloomy, and there's nothing like cheerful about him. And yeah, then he just goes and sits down and hangs out in his shell for like a time, and then he gets mad again. And I don't know what his deal is. He's very upset.
And the word I actually was looking for there was not Gaijin, it was Kaju. But,
I was like,
nobody bothered to stop and correct me. I love it. You guys are like,
Yeah.
wait, what? What'd she say? No, that wasn't right.
go on with your bad self, girl.
But yeah, so I feel like every time I see these things, I'm like super excited as a longtime Mario fan. And then I never actually like get around to playing them. And I don't know why. I don't know what my hang up is. Because I love Mario, but maybe it's because I feel like it's so much of more of the same. And I've spent thousands of hours of my life playing Mario platformers. That I'm like, do I want to go back to this? Is this what I want in my life? Or do I want to just play thousands of hours of more of the same of like Destiny or The Division?
Or Animal Crossing. Who could say? But no, that's a really interesting point because same with me. Like that's why I couldn't really get into Odyssey because it just felt, I mean, there are some different things there, but more of the same. And if this game didn't have the co-op that it did have, I don't think I would play it, honestly. It's fine, but the Mario series I think has needed a big kick in the ass for a while now. And I know there was the Origami King that just came out. And that was like fine, but it wasn't great. And yeah, I'm with you. I'm kind of over Mario platformers unless they're fun, chill, co-op. Let's go. But
Yeah.
I hate saying that. It sounds terrible. But you know.
And replayed 2 minutes of it.
2 whole minutes.
Yeah,
Yes.
girl, it must have really gripped you.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, I saw a cat suit and immediately was like, this is totally not for Rihanna. So
Oh no, I thought you were gonna say this is totally for Rihanna. No, what you got against cats?
It's a little
it's
weird.
because I cannot breathe in their presence.
That is
That is the case.
Fair point.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
No, I've not been a huge lifelong Mario fan. I've played a few of them here and there, but it's been so long since I've played one. I think maybe last one was Super Mario 64.
No,
Oh, wow.
Maybe.
what?
Oh yeah.
So this is a whole new game to me, and it was honestly unfathomable. So I just noped out pretty much immediately.
You were like, actually, JK.
It's
JK.
very complicated.
I mean, I will say Mario in a cat suit is really weird, especially since there are other cats in the game that will like come up and nuzzle Mario when he's in his cat suit. It's just something about it makes me feel weird.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm okay
It's
with
like
that.
all of those PETA complaints coming to life in a really bad way. Oh. Also, I've seen some people call it the white Tanuki suit, and it's not the white Tanuki suit. It is a cat suit, right?
Yeah,
it's totally
Yeah.
different.
It's cat behavior, cat look, cat everything.
Yeah.
Cat-esque.
It was like a tanuki and a cat, and not the same animal. This isn't a white tanuki suit.
No.
What
Unless
the
they're
hell is a
talking
real
about
tanuki?
the raccoon, the invincible raccoon suit, which if you fail level too many times, you'll get it. But that's in the other game.
Yeah.
Where if you fail, they're like, okay, you clearly suck. Let's throw you a bone here,
Yeah.
and then you just get invincible. I don't know. That whole thing.
That's why they kept offering that to me. No,
Yeah,
kidding.
sorry.
Oh, no.
Out of practice. Kahlief, I do want to talk to you a little bit about The Division. So we had the opportunity to play Agents of WGG Reunited with Benjamin and with Whiskey. And we played, I mentioned this on the show last week, but I'm glad that you're here to talk about it. How have you been feeling about getting back into The Division 2?
It's weird because for a game that I kind of wrote off for a bit, because the weirdness about the Division 2 is just that loot grind isn't as satisfying as something that you would see in a Destiny, because there isn't lore connected to it. There isn't this, otherworldly feeling like you're getting something as special. It feels like you just went to like LL Bean and you were like, yo, let me get some knee pads and a backpack and a beret. And you're just like, I'm going to go into the woods and go shoot things. But I have to say, I'm weirdly kind of like back into it. And I think the biggest part of that is because of the PS5 upgrade going up to 60 frames per second. I usually would play this game on PC because it just has better frames. But now that it's playable in a better and kind of like more smooth fashion on console, I'm so much like down to get back into the game and start, to the point that I was looking up before we jumped on the recording tonight, looking up builds to go back into the summit, because we had a fantastic run in the summit till like 3:00 in the morning. We were playing, and I'm like dying to go back and get a better build now, so I can like
That's my
actually.
got lost in the mail.
I mean.
Wait, did you say something about getting lost in the mail, Parris?
I said, yeah. I guess my invite got lost in.
Oh.
I mean, we only play with people born in the 80s.
Do you play on PlayStation? I thought you played on Xbox.
Andrea
Or
tried to
that.
move right past that.
Or that. Your guys' contempt, your play contempt for each other is.
I can't. I'm talking a whole bunch of mess. I was born in '78, so
I was
can't
about
talk
to say
crap.
you were born in the 70s too. Like, what are you talking about?
But-
Can you co-op that
answer-
with
Go
5
first.
people?
No, to answer your question, I have it on PS5 now.
Oh,
I
good.
primary
Okay.
PC, but I have it on PS5.
Yeah,
Okay.
we should definitely get some running for
Yeah.
sure.
Let's go.
But it feels better. It feels better in a lot of different ways, and I feel like that playability factor has made me want to stick with it now, and kind of now, because WGG and being in that clan, I was in there for a while, but just didn't get a chance to actually play as much. Now I have more people that I can run with and go through that newer content in a way that feels like I'm not alone, and I have to try to figure out how to go through this stuff and then get mopped and then have to restart and do all that stuff again. So yeah, like it's been fun to be able to do more of that and get back into that game for sure.
Yes. Well, Parris, we will send you an invite since Ree has abandoned the Agents of WGG.
They
No,
abandoned. Jeez.
No,
I'm just
please
taking a
do.
break.
I was a little hesitant because all my progress has been on PC, and I'm like, oh man, I got to do all this over again on PS5. But at least with Warlords of New York, you can just jump right into that, so that makes it a little bit easier. So yeah, I would love to. I never did the second raid, so that's,
I never finished the first raid.
I never started the first raid.
Oh
I
really?
never started the
Yeah.
First raid's really good. It's really good. There's definitely what's the word I'm looking for? There's definitely a I don't want to be demeaning, but there's definitely a skill barrier there in that first level.
No, listen, you don't have to be demeaning. We banged our heads against the wall for hours against what's that guy's name? Oh my gosh. I want to
don't
say
even remember
Boomer.
now.
Is it Boomer?
Something like that.
Whoever that
Was it-
boss is with the hammer in the first room, he was awful. And when I went back and watched PC streams of PC teams playing that, it was like
Yeah.
unfair. The amount of difference in controlling using a mouse versus using sticks, how much more control they had. And I mean, it's obviously a long time thing that we talk about frequently on this show about the superiority of using control with a mouse versus sticks. But like the fact that Ubisoft did not compensate, and Massive specifically didn't compensate for that on console when talking about like hit points, hitboxes, all of that was super frustrating for me, because I was like, you just set us up to fail. There was really just no way that console players could compete the same way that PC teams were competing in that raid. And so a lot of us just like gave up in frustration.
That's exactly why I gave up. 100%. When they came out and outright said we won't balance it or give any compensation updates for people on console, I was like, okay, bye. Like, if you don't want me to play it, then I won't. And I remember I did feel a type of way about that. It was very unwelcoming. And why would we keep banging our heads against it?
Yeah. And so I think, Kahlief, you make a really great point that the update that they've done now, it's to be clear, they have not released a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X version of The Division. You're still playing the backwards compatible Xbox One and PS4 version, but it plays and looks night and day from it did on when I was playing on PlayStation 4 Pro to playing on PS5. The frame rate alone makes the game so much more enjoyable now, and they've tweaked a lot of things about the RPG elements of the game, from the optimization table to the recalibration library to targeted loot, and really making the game a fun chase again. So if you guys weren't excited about the Resident Evil event that I talked about last week, which is over now, I never got my red jacket.
I didn't get any of the masks either. I was like,
I got one mask. I got the mask with the red glasses. What's that guy's name with the with the face?
Wesker?
The gas
Wesker?
mask.
What mask?
I don't know. It's like
Red glasses
it's like one of the like stock enemies of Resident Evil. They're like ski goggles almost, and he's got a big gas mask on.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name though, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
I'll have to look it up for you, Britt, and I'll say it, and then you'll be like, "Wait, what? What were you talking about?" That's a terrible description.
I saw someone decked out their character in a Leon Kennedy outfit with a Nemesis mask, and I thought that was a really good look.
Yeah, I got the Leon pants. That's the only part of Leon's outfit that I got. But I got his little shield on my hip, his little Raccoon City shield. So, all right. Well, listen, I hope that I can get y'all back in with The Division, because I know that's not Britt's thing. But maybe the four of us can play sometime.
Oh yeah, shoot me in
would be lots of fun.
If you play zombies, I'll play Division.
See?
Ooh.
What? Look at
Very
that. Bringing
compromised.
gamers together.
I'm down. Parris, do you play zombies? Do you play COD Zombies?
My name's not Danny Pena. No, I do not.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. On that note, let's take our last break of the show. When we come back, we are going to talk to these lovely people about content creation in the age of 2021 and all of its loveliness and only loveliness. Stick with us, everybody. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. It is the final segment of the What's Good Games podcast. And this week, it is brought to you by Logitech G. We've been talking about the Logitech G733 for a couple of months now here on What's Good Games. I absolutely love this headset, and they are just bringing the goods with their new lines of gaming gear for all kinds of gaming players out there. And one of the favorite items that we like to talk about here on the show, of course, is this Lightspeed wireless gaming headset. Isn't it pretty, everybody? Listen, you guys know that I'm a sucker for RGB lighting. Just look at the studio. And this is one of the reasons I love this headset, how superficial it may be. But this headset also has a lot of other technology packed into it. It comes with 2.4 gigahertz wireless connectivity, the front-facing dual-zone LightSync RGB, Blue Voice mic technology, plus the Pro G audio drivers, and of course, multiple colorways to choose from because we like customization. You're going to experience total freedom with up to 20 meters of wireless range with Lightspeed wireless technology, and you can keep playing for those long sessions of The Division or Destiny or Animal Crossing, whatever's your pleasure, with 29 plus hours of battery life. You guys can also play wirelessly on your PlayStation 4 and your PlayStation 5 with stereo sound, and you can personalize your headset lighting with the front-facing dual-zone light sync RGB, which I have been pointing out a couple of times because, you know, it makes me kind of feel like I'm having a little party when I'm gaming.
You're a little
And
disco
of
ball,
course,
Andrea.
I talk about this reversible suspension headband and how it makes this headset incredibly comfortable during long play sessions, something that's super important to anything you put on your head. And the G733 colorway has its own unique headband design, but if you decide, hey, I don't really like the headband color that came with the colorway that I chose, you can get a range of colorways on the Logitech G website. Plus, it's a soft dual-layer memory foam, conforms to your head and contours around your jaw for a better seal, reducing stress points and delivering long-lasting comfort. And did I mention it's available in multiple colorways? I'm pretty sure I did. Each with its own vibrant reversible headband and corresponding ear pads. As you guys can see, I am rocking the lilac with the yellow headband. Love me some purple and yellow. Go Vikings. For a limited time, Logitech G is offering our listeners express shipping at logitechg.com. You can use the code What's Good Games, free ship 219. I know it's a little bit of a mouthful. Don't worry, it's going to be in the show notes. For express shipping today. That's express shipping for all Logitech G products. So maybe you want to get the Logitech G Pro mouse instead, or maybe you want to get the G915 keyboard instead. Whatever floats your boat. You can use code What's Good Games, free ship 219. Hurry though, the promo code expires in just 3 days. So have you been sitting around not making your order? Now is the time. LogitechG.com and use the code What's Good Games, free ship 219. Welcome back, everybody. So you guys may realize that it's February, and that means Black History Month. You've probably been seeing all kinds of posts from all kinds of brands all across the internet, and I wanted to get together some friends of the show to talk about what Black History Month means for them as content creators and as gamers. Because I think we see a lot of brands kind of jump into the fray. Some of them do a good job. Some of them bungle it. But I want to give Ree a special shout out to you for helping lead the conversation here at What's Good Games starting last summer around the Black Lives Matter movement. Obviously, shout out again to Kahlief Adams for A Lesson in Blackness and everything you did with the conversations there. But it feels like in all of the fray that happened in the election over the last half of 2022, some of those conversations got lost and are now kind of being reinvigorated because it's Black History Month. But obviously, we should be talking about these all year long, not just 1 month out of the year. So I kind of wanted to kick off this conversation with you guys talking about what Black History Month means to you specifically. And Kahlief, let's start with you.
Yeah, for me, this is again one of the most awesome parts of the year because we get to take time to reflect about the greatness in our community. It is a time where we get to, commiserate about the things that we are all kind of going through in a larger, more profound way, where we can have a spotlight on us to be able to, signal out to the rest of the world that like things are happening in our community, around our community, through our culture, and in ways that, many times throughout the rest of the year don't necessarily have a very specific space to be able to be talked about. So it's nice to be able to have that, 28 days to be able to do that work, and also feel like the folks who are, a little bit gun shy about having the conversation in a real way can often feel like now's a time to kind of broach that in a larger, more comprehensive way. So, it's all about education. It's about fun. It's about, trying to figure out ways to move forward and trying to figure out ways to collaborate with a lot of other content creators in ways that signal boosts all the work that we're doing. So it's a fantastic time of year. I always cherish it because it means so much in that way.
I'm glad you brought up education because, Rihanna, you've done such an amazing job with education, not only for me personally, but for people who follow you. You've been tweeting great links. You've been fleeting in Instagram stories. So talk to me a little bit about, kind of what's your inspiration for these education posts and what Black History Month means for you.
Yeah, I've always felt most impactful when I can teach somebody something, whether that be through dance, showing my mom how to play video games on her laptop, or even, tweeting and Instagram stories posting about different moments in Black history that you don't hear about. Like you know about Rosa Parks, you know about Martin Luther King. That's great. There are other amazing things that Black people have done in games and outside of games. So that's kind of where that education motivation for me comes from, because there's a whole millennia of culture to celebrate and Black history, and not just America, and not just since slaves were set free. So that's where that comes from. And as far as what Black History Month means to me, it's right now it feels like it's a time to, as Cobb mentioned, give everyone permission to have this conversation, because it is uncomfortable for a lot of folks, or a lot of people don't feel that it's their place or that they have anything to contribute. I would argue everybody has something to contribute, just maybe not in every conversation. But what I hope Black History Month can begin to look like is more of like a CES. Like, this is what everybody has been working on, and here is the end result. Here is the product. Here is how we've made strides in leadership structures, in representation, in the people who are actually making the games being more diverse. I'm hoping that it can be more of a reflection than a reminder. And right now, it definitely feels like it's still in the phase where we have to remind everybody we're here, we're talented, we play games, we can also make them, and we're part of this. We're part of this industry too. And yeah, hopefully we can get to that future sooner rather than later.
100% agree with that. I think that, when we talk about representation in the gaming space specifically, there's been clearly some good strides made and some diversity and inclusion initiatives from some major players, which is awesome. But obviously, I think we all recognize that there's still quite a ways to go. So, Parris, I've been loving watching you on Twitter. You've always been a very outspoken person, have lots of interesting things to say, particularly when it comes to Black History Month. Is there a special meaning for you, or do you find that your activism is particularly like heightened during this time, or do you think it's just another month?
It's definitely heightened. First of all, everything that Khan and Reese said, spot on. I'm in complete agreement with all of that. But what does Black History Month mean to me? I love it and I hate it. I love it for the heightened awareness that happens during Black History Month. I love the celebration of Black culture that happens during Black History Month. I love the education of Black history that happens during these 28 days. I think it is very important, and kind of like what Ree said, we need to get to a point where it's not a reminder, where it's basically, here's where we're reflecting on what we've done the other 300 plus days of the year, right? I hate it because we're not there. I hate it that we have these 28 days out of the year where all of a sudden everyone, I'm gonna just try and keep it here, but I'm short, where everybody wants to care about Black people and our struggles and our culture and our history. But then when the clock turns March 1st, we go back to business as usual, right? We need to get to a point where, sure, it's heightened during the month of February, but that work continues the rest of the year. And we're just simply not there. My biggest thing, and I'll try and keep this more towards gaming, but this is really towards everything in life, is we need more diverse leadership. I keep saying it like a broken record, but that's where it starts. It starts at the top. We need more diverse leadership. We need to get more qualified people of color into positions to actually help with change, because they're in a position to actually make change happen, right? We need basically white people as well to obviously be on board with this. The analogy that I use, and I had recently said this about Kahlief. Kahlief had Sarah Bond on last year, and I recommend everyone check out Spawn on Me and listen to that interview. We need more Sarah Bonds in this industry. We just do. Not only the fact that she's Black, but she's also a woman. I think that's very important. She's clearly bringing a different perspective to the table that I think Xbox is benefiting from, and I think other companies can benefit from as well at a leadership executive level. And then it's just going to go down from there. Like Reese said, we can make the games too, right? There's qualified people out there that can make games, and they can make experiences that reflect Black culture and it reflect our experiences as well. So keep this short. Yes, I love Black History Month for everything that I talked about before, but I hate it at the same time because there's just still just so much work to do. And I never thought in my 40 plus years on this planet, we would still be at this place. I thought there would have been more progress by now.
Can I add a tale to that really quickly?
Sure.
Of course.
One of the things that I have been working on specifically that kind of leans into what Parris was talking about. And I think this is a part of also leads into what Reed was talking about, is one of the most beautiful things about our community is that we have been at the forefront of everything when it comes to industry, when it comes to entertainment, when it comes to business, when it's come to all the places that we had to be let into after the laws were changed or after amendments were made and after all those things was in there. We've always innovated and excelled in all those different places, even in the video game space, but we don't do a good job, both from within our community and as the community at large, of talking about the contributions that we made in that space. Parris brings up Sarah Bond, which is an amazing example of someone at the height of, the video game industry in very rarefied air at Xbox in that space. But, one of the things that, Parris and I and other folks, when we go into those clubhouse rooms, for Blacks in Gaming, when I was producing the Black in Gaming Award last year, and we'll do it again this year, one of the jobs that I have is to, combine with those rest of those folks and say, who are the other people who we are not talking about? It's not just Reggie Fils-Aimé, or it's not just Jerry Lawson, or those folks. Like, who are the Black women that are in that space that have been at the forefront of those conversations? The Laura Teclamariums, or the Lizette Montgomerys, or the names that a lot of people, when you have those conversations about people who have contributed, who are in the space now, who are making stuff. Sinead T. Bryant is a 20-year veteran. She's worked on everything from Avengers to Mega Man to Street Fighter to all those different games. But if you were to ask most people, and ask especially most consumers, they would never know who those folks are. So this month is a space where, again, we get to also uplift those stories into a more prominent space so that we can have those larger conversations, while also making sure that we're looking at the total landscape to see how we as an industry can do better, and kind of build those people up to that, so we don't have to think of them as not household names. They should be household names when it comes to the gaming industry.
100% agree that the education of the creators in the gaming industry is something that is severely lacking. And a lot of those names, I'm sure people listening to the show are like, I don't know who those people are, right? Like, and who's telling those stories. And it's tough when you're competing with, what's the latest concert happening in Fortnite? And like, that's cool too, but maybe you should do a little bit more to learn about where the games come from. Right? I think it kind of leads into this idea of Activision. I keep saying Activision. Activism in modern content creation.
Zombies on the mind.
Obviously, when we were kicking off this segment, I kind of made mention that all three of you do a lot of, speaking out in social media platforms in ways that I find really inspiring and great. And I love following all of you guys, and hopefully everybody listening will go and follow all of you as well. Don't forget their links to all of their profiles will be in the show notes. But obviously we all have also been on the other side of that, right? When you speak out about something and somebody claps back like, just stick to video games. I know Brittany and I have experienced that, being women in the space, and you all have experienced it, not only being Black content creators, but being a Black woman content creator, getting kind of a double whammy of people being assholes online to you. Does it ever kind of make you second guess, the kind of actions that you're doing and the things that you're saying? Or are you at a point now where you feel confident enough of where you are in your career that you're like, I'm going to do this because I want to do this?
It has definitely made me second guess it in the past. I'm way past worrying about that now. I'm confident in the things that I say and my actions. I have no regrets in that. But yeah, there was definitely a time a few years back where it's like, is the harassment even worth it? Is me standing up for the things that I believe in even worth doing, or should I just stop doing this at all? I mean, ask Danny, he'll tell you. We've had these conversations where like, I don't know, man, maybe I just need to stop doing this. I don't think it's worth continuing to do this. But I reached a point where, I fought for a long time that does my voice matter? And now I can say, I know it does. I know the things that I say online matter. I've definitely had enough people reach out to me publicly and privately to say, hey, you mentioning this or standing up for that, I really appreciate that. You inspired me to do X, Y, or Z. So it pushes me forward to know that, be proud of the content that I create. Be proud of standing up for the things that I believe in, because it matters. Because if I don't do it, if I don't, being African American, being a male, I'm in my 40s, so there's that next generation that is looking at me. That they're looking for me for direction. Now, I'm not trying to say that arrogantly, but it's the truth. They want to know, what do we need to do to continue to move this forward? So I do take responsibility in that, and I do think it is very important that we continue to be vocal about the things that we believe in. We continue to stand proudly behind our content. And when people tell us to basically shut up and dribble, just play your video games, why are you talking about politics or activism or any of that? It's like, no, all that goes hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. You need to, not only do you need to respect the creator, but you need to respect the person that's behind that content as well. And you need to also respect the fact that I am an African American living in the United States of America and everything that entails. So of course, I'm not just going to go play Call of Duty Zombies and call it a day, right? I'm going to talk about the important as well. And, I look at people like Kahlief, Zombie as an example, Pika, just people that are out there, Malik, these people that are out there and they're not afraid to put their voice out there and stand behind the things that they say, because if we don't do it, then who will?
100%. And Parris, you really hit the nail on the head. Like, I can't just stick to video games because I can't just not be Black.
Exactly.
I can't take it off. Like, it's not an option. It's not anything that I've ever woken up a single day of my life and not thought about. And as you mentioned, Andrea, I'm a Black woman. It is definitely compounded. And I'm thankful enough that the spaces I've chosen to enter have been largely welcoming and receptive to the things that I want to share. And I haven't gotten a lot of hate publicly. I'm sure someday I'll get something and it will change, but I don't have any other option. And it may be there may be some contributing factors for my family. I've spoken about my family lineage back when we had our discussion after George Floyd's murder, and my grandmother was actually an activist. She was a mixed race Black woman, but she 100% instilled her values as a Black woman in me, and the responsibility that I have to people who look like me to stand up, to speak out, to share what my life has been like and what it will be because of the things that I've chosen to change and talk about. And I don't have any other option. I can't just stick to video games. So if I were to ever address anyone with a trolly comment like that, that would be my answer. It's not possible for me to take off my Blackness.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't if I could.
Word.
Yeah.
Especially that. And for me, it revolves around a couple of different things. One, my activism makes me special in the space from just a content creator perspective. There are 2 shows that basically have been doing this work in this way, loud and proud, for as long as they have been. Not Your Mama's Gamer. Shout out to Sophista, who, celebrated their 10-year anniversary in the podcasting space a couple of weeks ago, and us, of like being super loud and proud from day one to say, like, yes, this is a conversation that's going to happen through a Black perspective, and you have to deal with that. That's a conversation that you're going to have to come to grips with, figure out how you're going to, come to that content, and feel like you are privy to a conversation that you're not going to get anywhere else, and that is special in and of itself. So, when the conversation happens where, you get the, don't talk about politics stuff, I'm like, that is an interesting perspective to have only if you feel like the world hasn't necessarily imposed its force on you.
It's a
And if you know
privilege
that it has,
perspective.
yeah, and if you know it has, then you know that there's a responsibility to then talk about that experience in a way that is, one, welcoming, because I feel like that's a way that you actually get across the lines that we see. And then there's also a space where you get to have the conversation that opens up other valuable conversations in ways that you weren't able and privy to be able to do before. I feel like the activism that we have on our show is a reflection of every door that was opened for me from every person who I've met in this industry, black, brown, yellow, and green. You know what I mean? Adam Sussler opened a door for me when he didn't need to. Andrea opened a door for me when I didn't need to. Sterling McGarvey opened a door for me. Sean Alexander, Robin Hunicke. All these people who understood the conversations that were happening and that they were needed, understood that those places and those conversations and those words and those values have a place in the industry that is deserved. So it's one of those things of where the activism comes naturally at this point. I've always been that space. My grandma was the person who raised me to be loud and proud about my blackness. You know, from ever since I was young, singing the Black National Anthem, during, particular parts of the year was a part of that conversation. Making sure that you worked twice as hard as your counterparts in different spaces is a part of that conversation. So activism as a foundation for content is something that is important. It's necessary and continues to drive what we do at Spawn on Me every day. So the shut up and dribble people, they usually don't have a lot to say once you ask why.
Yeah.
Because they don't have anything else to really dig into past the I just wanted to be an asshole online. So yeah, that's my take on that.
Or you do get one response that I do find common. You get the, I use video games as an escape from the real world. So
Right.
so I don't want you bringing that into your content. But like Reese said, I can't escape being black. That's 24/7. It's a part of who I am. So you do have to listen to that. And one of the thing I'll say really quick before we move on, a part of the activism and the being vocal and all that, I will fully admit, I was terrified this November. Terrified.
Oh yeah.
That is it going to be safe for me to still be in this country? Is it going to be safe for my children to still be in this country? Do I need to go take a job over in Europe? You know what I mean? Because it's like, maybe I got to get out of here. I don't know. So you can love the content. Like, part of being a black creator is also being black. And part of being black is the realities of this world and the realities of being a part of this country. So, I absolutely applaud the work that, and Kahlief, you know this, but I'm just saying it publicly. I absolutely applaud the work that you do with Spawn on Me, and just how you have used that platform to open so many eyes and to get so many people to listen to what it is to be black in this country and what it is to be a black creator and all the nonsense that we deal with on a daily basis. It's been extremely educational for myself, not forget, non-black people. Even for me, I have learned things about myself because of the content that you do on that show, and all the other people that you have named that have opened doors or have helped you along the way, because they have also helped me as well on certain levels. And that is, of course, appreciated, and it's so needed. Like Andrea, I even say with you specifically, you may not even remember this, but we were, before the dark times of the pandemic, one of the last events we were at, you sat at a table with myself, Danny, and Kahlief. And the point of what you're talking about doesn't matter, but it was the fact that you did it. You gave so many life lessons and helpful advice being in this industry that day that stick with me to this day. And the point I'm trying to make on that is,
Are you talking about DC?
Yeah.
No. This was LA.
Oh, no.
This was LA. Yeah. And it sticks with me to this day, some of the things that you said. And I know it's slightly off the point of, being a black creator or whatever, but the point is, we need more of that in this industry. We need more mentors. We need more leadership, so it trickles down so that we can grow together versus the shut up and dribble crowd and just everything else that goes with that. So I just wanted to give you kudos on that and everyone else. And I know people love to talk about our rib wars and all that with Kahlief, but I love that dude. I do. And I think the work that he does at Spawn on Me is so important, and he's not alone. There's other ones that are out there as well. And like I said, Black History Month is here to heighten awareness and all that. And I hope people are actually paying attention and listening and learning something so they can carry it on through the rest of the year.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate that a bunch. It's the thing that I go back to often is understanding just how important it is that we all hold hands, walk together, and we figure out ways to move past some of the stuff that we currently always see. And a lot of times during Black History Month, there is a woe is me, right? And the woe is me part is sometimes necessary. I feel like, again, for a people who are constantly being aggrieved by the government, by our federal citizenry, by nature, you know what I mean? Hypertension, God knows, like the damn pressure up with all the kind of crazy stuff that happens. All those things happen around us, to us, and through us often. But I think that one of the beautiful things that I've seen, especially during and right around the Lesson in Blackness episodes that we did, was the conversation shifted a little bit in the industry. And I will absolutely take credit for that. I think we did something very special during those 2 episodes where we all got together, gathered, and talk about our feelings about what the industry needs to do and change in that perspective. And I think shows like this, WGG kind of opening up the conversation here. I have to give massive love to my friends over at Kind of Funny for broaching things that a couple years ago they were super uncomfortable talking about in a public form and format. And now we see that they're starting to do those conversations without us, which is the thing that we had hoped to see happen in that space. Do I think they get enough credit for that? No. But I think it's a process.
They're fine. They don't need any more credit. They're fine.
I mean, but they don't. I mean, that Miller dude, terrible. But I think that the conversation has always been started from us saying, hey, the burden on all of the things that are the ills within our communities that come from systemic racism, that come from white supremacy, that come from all those places are things that we have no control over as Black folks. The conversation needs to be put on white folks to be able to have those conversations with your peers, to have those conversations with your family and friends in a way that we have given you the tools to be able to have the conversation. Now I bequeath them to you. I now have them for you to be able to do that work so that we don't have to think about having that burden while also trying to create and be productive and be artistic and be our natural, fullest, beautiful selves. So I think that's the part of the conversation that has continued to move forward. And I think everyone on this panel has had a part in kind of making that thing move in a positive direction, especially in games in the past couple of years. So I think that that's super important to recognize.
And before we move on, I do want to also just give a shout out to What's Good Games. Like, Andrew, you and I have had so many conversations about this very issue and lots of others as well. Brittany, thank you for looking up Fred Hampton and figuring out that piece of history that has been buried for so long. And thanks to Steimer for doing so much research on the policing system that we even have just here in California and the way funds are distributed. Like it does take exactly what Con mentioned, our allies going the next step for us, because we can't teach white people what we've been screaming this whole time. Like, you have to help us help you and then help us too. Like, it does take an entire community, and it's a community that includes everyone, not just Black people, to make progress. So thank you to each of you as well.
Yep.
We notice these things.
Mm-hmm.
We notice when y'all do the work.
And we talk about it, and we share, Rhea and I have had those conversations often. I was like, I'm happy to see this being a thing. And like seeing y'all take the ball and run with it. That means a lot.
Well, I think Brittany and I have talked at length about our community. And, Britt, you can probably speak more as, the person who's kind of like our number one band hammer wielder in What's Good Games about like our shared experience being women in the space and everything that we've dealt with and the harassment and the toxicity that we feel. And it's not the same, obviously, as the same kind of toxicity you get as Black creators. But we have a shared experience of like being the person who's being kicked for something that we can't control. Right. And so like, but like I'd mentioned, Brittany taught me a lot about how to kind of manage that community and some of the ways that you can kind of combat that toxicity.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of this kudos to Ree as well, because this is a hard thing to talk about. And I think it's when you have one of your friends being like, I want to talk about this, and whatever you say, like, I'm here I want to like help, not educate, but I want to be here for you so you can bounce things off of me, and I want you to learn, and I want you to be better, essentially. And I think having that conversation with you, Ree, was what really helped me, because I was like, okay, yeah, like you're right. Like I need to fucking grab the bull by the horns and take this charge. And what you really taught me was it's all about like, can someone learn from this? And going back to what Andrea was saying too, with our community, if someone's going to be an asshole, they're going to be an asshole. You can't fix an asshole. But if someone is ill-informed and you feel like there's a moment for education there, and if you can have the patience, that's something that's always been our approach with our community is, can we turn this person's stupid opinion or stupid thought into something that maybe and make them consider something that maybe they hadn't considered before. And that's why thankfully we don't have to ban so many people in our community, is because we try to keep that door open for conversation when it's appropriate and when we can have a fruitful end result. And that's not all the time, but when it can happen, it does feel very rewarding, because then you kind of have this trickle effect of person A helps person B, who helps person C, helps person D, or you just cut it off at the head, then that education and that helping never really occurs. And so that's something I feel really grateful about too.
No, I love that What's Good has that approach. And my dad is in corrections. He used to be a prison warden, and now he's a principal, and he likes to say it's the same job. But it's definitely something that you don't even know how far those efforts end up going. Like that ripple effect of you being more educated, being more informed, can just as a casual conversation impact somebody that you didn't even realize was missing something. And I recently was on Xbox Expansion Pass with a friend of the show, Luke, and off air he mentioned to me like he is an educator, and some of the kids that he is responsible for imbuing lifelong lessons into, like, are really struggling with some things. And because of something that I shared, he was able to connect with them, and without getting too personal because it's their story, what was able to really help them find answers that they couldn't find at home. And I think it's just so important. And yes, it's battling toxicity is one outcome, but also just making everybody around you smarter and better and more able and equipped to have these conversations. It's so important to always figure out what you don't know and figure out how to find out. That's why I've been sharing stuff on my fleets and my IG stories, and this is education for me as well. As Parris mentioned, I don't know everything about Black history. Definitely don't know everything about Black history going back to the beginning of time. So we all have homework to do, and why not compare notes? It can only make our final project that much better.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
I do want to ask some of these viewer questions that we have that are going to kind of take the conversation to a more fun direction, but to kind of like, put a pin on this conversation, because obviously there's no ending this conversation. It's going to be hopefully an evolving conversation that everybody listening will get involved with and, choose to educate yourself on, because as Rihanna has mentioned, it's not her burden, it's not Kahlief's burden or Parris or any other Black person's burden to educate you on what people did wrong to Black people. You should educate yourself and take the burden on yourself and learn and educate yourself. But I do want to get some insight from the three of you on ways that content creators of, all walks of life, whether they're BIPOC or LGBTQ+ or non-binary or whoever you are out there, even if you're a white dude out there, we care about you too. How do you guys combat toxicity in your communities, in your feeds? Is there a way that you approach it that helps you as someone who has to deal with it on a semi-regular basis go, I'm going to keep moving forward, and this is the thing that has helped me do that?
Ooh.
It's funny. I keep thinking of Tyra Banks. I know, left field, right? Let me explain. Let me explain. So I can't remember what season of America's Next Top Model it was, but I want to say she was quoting something her mom used to tell her, where like, you never know what it is that person's going through that's making them say these things to you. And I attempt with all of my might to go for empathy first, because it may be coming from a place where they hate themselves, not me. And that helps put their comments or their feedback or their ignorance into perspective for me, because it's something that they're lacking, not me. I'm not lacking anything, what at least not one of they're commenting on. I do have work to do in other spaces, but it's not my problem that they have an issue with me. It's theirs. And that usually helps me go back to a place of caring and wanting to re-educate folks and rehabilitate folks. And if they're not willing to do that, then we don't have anything else to talk about.
Oh, love that.
I like that.
For me, I believe in truth. And that is a fundamental thing and a foundational thing for how I deal with anyone online. One, I believe in the idea of nuance. I think nuance is still important. I think context is still important. I think, being able to share a thought in a way that feels like it is my truth is the best way I can live this particular life. And most people, when I hit them with the truth that I feel is reasonable, they don't really have a rebuttal for it. Even if they come through with the weirdest, most unreasonable versions of stuff. I had some of that today on my timeline about some random stuff that kind of came up. And someone tried to basically shame me to be like, don't you think that thing you said was a little bit harsh and a little bit terse and all that kind of stuff? And I was like, well, look, the experiences that I have on this planet as a Black person in America have informed me of many, many things. And those things that I have been informed about, to a certain extent, have not changed. And if those things haven't changed, that is not because of trying for me or my people to be able to get that stuff to move in a positive direction. So maybe, before you roll up on me online and talk all this mess, maybe you should do that little bit of work first to be introspective and think about, am I contributing to the problem? Am I trying to figure out ways to better that problem? Am I just talking crap for the sake of talking crap? There's a lot of minutia within the conversation points that wind up happening online, and battling through, what the people may feel or any of that kind of stuff. I will just hit you with truth and dip out, because at the end of the day, you can't deny those experiences that have been had for me and for other folks who look like me on the planet, to try to combat that with some stuff that doesn't really make sense. And leaving it in that particular frame has given me a way to kind of like disconnect from the personal attacks that wind up coming up, or the, commentary about the content not being good or other people's stuff being better than mine. My stuff is dope. I know it's dope. You can't tell me it's not.
Is this why you're bringing so many battles and toxicity to Parris? Parris, how do you deal with your constant battles of the toxicity that Kahlief brings into your life?
Oh, I just fire right back. I just bring the truth right back to him. It's like I just show him his own cooking, and that usually just ends the comment, right there. But,
exit stage left, Ethan. That's what I just leave.
Yeah, but on a serious note, I mean, I think Ka hit on it pretty well as far as saying truth. Again, take skin tone, gender, and all that stuff out of it for a second. Just talk as a creator, dealing with the anonymous social media and the comment sections of YouTube and things like that. I honestly, I should be sitting in this cyberpunk chair right now. It's literally off to the side, because it has been a symbol the past 6 months or so of what it's been like for me as a creator, because people take me having that chair as a symbol to try and grief me about certain things. And I like to ask questions. So if I do engage, I typically ask a simple question: why do you care so much? because the one advice I would give to any creator out there, number one, know your worth and be proud of the content that you make and the things that you're putting out there for public consumption, right? People will latch onto one thing and try and use that as the thing to drag you down to their level. And instead of dragging them down, you getting dragged down to their level, try and bring them up to your level. Try and ask them the questions as to, why do you care so much that I got the chair? Why do you care so much that I was on IGN this month? Why do you care I was on Kind of Funny? Why do you care that I made this YouTube video? I got early access to this or whatever. Why do you care so much? What is it about the content that I'm putting out that invokes this emotional response from you? And that typically shuts them up because they have no answer, because the answer typically would be, well, I don't know. I just saw you have something that I don't have, and that upsets me. And that shouldn't be the mentality. The mentality should be, you know, if you want to do the thing that you're seeing this creator doing, instead of attacking them, figure out what you need to do to get to that level as well. You know, work harder. Honestly, is the way that I look at it. You know, unfortunately, we live in this anonymous internet, and I have to have tough skin. I say that to any content creator out there. You have to have tough skin, because you will see some of the most horrible comments ever directed your way. And you need to be able to look at those comments and understand that that is not who you are. That is not a representation of what you are. People are going to attack your appearance. They're going to attack your skin tone. They're going to attack your gender. They're going to attack, you know, the quote unquote marketing opportunity / goodies that you may receive. Like, because Andrew, I know you got it. You got the Xbox controller, the red one, for Valentine's Day, right? I wound up getting it a week early. I had it on Super Bowl Sunday, and I took a picture of it. I don't read the comment section, and then stupid me decided to go look in the comment, and it's horrible. It's horrible. It's like, I'm just sharing a cool thing.
Or you're an Xbox shill. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know.
Everybody knows.
No. I'm an Xbox.
You don't know?
I'm a Cyberpunk shill. What else?
Listen, don't you know I'm Andrea EA Renee? Don't you know that's who I am?
Oh God.
It's true.
But that's my favorite one, when people capitalize the E and the A in my name as if that's like supposed to
Andrea. They think they're being so saluted.
Yeah, they're so witty on that one.
Oh,
right?
but that goes hand in hand with what Ree was saying. Was you know, those kind of comments, like, why was someone mad that you have this badass Cyberpunk chair and that you had all these awesome hosting opportunities? It's because they don't have those opportunities, because they don't want to work as hard to get them. So therefore, it's easier to have that knee-jerk reaction of, this upsets me, and I'm just going to, for no logic at all, reach out and lash out at this person. And I think, you know, both of you like have the perfect combination of logic. All three of you, actually, like, you hit them with the truth. And then also, like, to realize why they're doing that and why they're treating you that way. It's because, like, looking inside oneself to figure out why oneself is so upset with their current situation, which would cause them to lash out at others, is a very difficult thing for people to do. And it's much easier in the online world to just get mad about it and not do anything about it. But when you actually react to them, they're like, I don't have any reason for this. Actually, I'm just going to peace out. And if they don't, then you just mute them and let them scream into the void.
Exactly. You just let them scream into the void.
And then I just turn
that's
on
all
my.
you can do. Yeah.
Then I just turn on my Xbox provided and Sony PlayStation provided consoles and play.
There you go.
Booyah. I love it. Y'all have been amazing. Thank you for hanging out. I know this has been a long one. I do want to kind of end our conversation with this kind of fun question from Matt at Disease Gecko. The first question: what's it like being friends with the legendary at Godfrey, also known as Danny Pena?
Silence.
Silence.
Do you
for
really want me to answer
everybody.
that one?
I was waiting for Parris to hit that one.
Hey, I'll answer it. When you try to do a podcast with him for the past decade, he's going to cut you off anytime you have a point to make. Anytime you have an interview with a gaming executive like, you know, Bonnie Ross, he's going to leave you completely unprepared and just throw you into the wolves and go, oh, Parris, my throat. Here you go. I don't know what I'm doing. I will never forgive him for that. Ever. But on the flip side, I will say this. Danny Pena is one of my best friends in the world. He always will be. Yeah, I mean, that's literally my brother through the good, the bad, and the ugly. He's someone that has always been there for me. I would not be here right now without Danny Pena. And that's just 100% the truth. Because back in June of 2006, when I was doing this really dumb podcast called The Old School Gamers, I reached out to Danny Pena and asked him for tips, and he helped me. And he's been a mentor to me ever since. So, yeah, I love that dude. I mean, it's as simple as that. So to answer your question, it's amazing to be with Danny Pena, except when he interrupts you and except when he throws you to the wolves on an interview.
I love it. And shout out to you guys. Sorry, Cod, just one sec. I just want to say shout out to you guys for all of the coverage that you guys are getting as an outlet. Did he also exclude you from that Reggie interview? Did he leave you out in the cold?
No. And look, I'm going to take credit for this one, Danny.
Okay.
Where we were supposed to do it together. And I told him a few days before, I go, you know what? I think you should just do it yourself. This has been a bucket list item for you. I know how much you've wanted this. I mean, literally for over a decade, he's wanted to interview Reggie. And I think the conversation will be just it will be more casual and free flowing if it's just a one-on-one thing between you two. And look at the interview. It turned out to be amazing. I mean, it has been headlines all over the gaming industry the past couple days. And it's because Danny was just himself. Reggie just got to be himself, and they had a great conversation. So I'm gonna take credit for that one, Danny, not you. It's all me.
Spoken like a true best friend. I love
Hell
it.
yeah. The one thing I would share about Danny Pena is Danny has kept me in the podcasting game in a real way.
Yeah.
I remember very, very much when I was about to quit 2 years ago, and he pulled me aside. He called me and was like, yo, Kai, I know you're thinking about quitting. We've had discussions. You have to keep going. And if it wasn't for him and for Parris, specifically you two, saying you need to keep going, all the good stuff that's happened in the past year wouldn't have happened. So that's a thing that I think about Danny all the time. And the other thing I think about him is that he is still, for every accolade that he has gotten and for every cool thing that has happened, especially in the past 3 to 4 years, he is still one of the most underrated people within this industry. And 100%. That to me is nuts, because the work that he's put in from day one, putting out podcasts on cassette tapes and handing them out and, giving them to people and doing that work. And now to see him get so much love with this Reggie interview, it's so beautiful to see him just continue to grow and still have such good energy for wanting to do this work, because it is hard work, over 1,100 episodes, and he has not stopped doing this stuff in a way that
impressive.
Is still maximum amount of quality and thoughtfulness and kindness. And it's beautiful to see him continue to push the space forward and get the wins that he's been getting. I love that cat from the bottom of my heart. I love him for real.
Bree, you're going to have to tell him that we sang his praises, even though he's got bad hot takes about Xbox business decisions.
Oh, God.
and if I could add one last thing to
Of
that
course.
about Danny Pena. Ree, you are a saint. How the hell you put up with this man on a daily basis, I don't know. But God bless you. You are you're the most amazing person on planet Earth. You just are, because I don't know how you do it.
Well,
I really
one
don't.
thing, I don't tolerate him interrupting me, so that does help.
That's the way.
Oh, I fucking love it.
That's the way.
I love it. Matt's real question, though, our final question of the show was, what are you most excited for this year? Not talking about games, but just life in general. What has you excited in 2021? If you can be excited for anything, knowing that we're still in the shit together with this pandemic business.
I mean, that's it, right? Getting vaccinated and seeing all my friends again. That's the only thing I can be excited for, because nothing else even comes close. Like being able to hug people, like
Yes.
it does something for your psyche. You know what I mean? Like, I am blessed to have another human being that I love dearly in this space with me, but I want to hug other people too. Like, I want to see my mom. I want to come and hang out with you and John, Andrea. I want to go back up to Seattle and see you, Britt. Like, I want to see my friends, and y'all are all over the place. And it's so heartbreaking that it's been more than a year since we have sat down and had a meal together.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy. I would just co-sign that and just simply say, yeah, I was one of those people that we don't need to do E3 anymore. This thing, it's so done. I'm over it. I'm tired. Go all digital with the events. My God, you have no idea how much I would love to go to that LA Convention Center this June, and we all just get to hang out.
Bring on the
and just
lobby
do
of
our
the
thing.
JW Marriott.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, this pandemic has really taught me the importance of people, just that face-to-face interaction. The other thing that this pandemic has taught me, my wife and I, we truly, truly love each other. Because, my God. Y'all, we're definitely meant for each other. I definitely after the past year, but on a serious note, yeah, it's just the people getting past this pandemic and being able to go to events again and just hang out with all of you people. I mean, it's crazy that we've not been able to have that interaction for over a year now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Deathloop. That was I mean, all this other hugs and feels nonsense. I don't care about that. I just want to play. PSVR again in 4K and that kind of stuff. I don't care about no feelings. No, but
I feel you,
seriously,
I feel you.
Yeah, no, I miss the hell out of y'all. For real. It is stupid. It does really pull into focus just how much fun we all have when we're all together, and we get a chance to see each other and talk shit in person and do all that kind of stuff. Like that stuff really, really does feel like the part of the industry that I remember very specifically. Family Sterling McGarvey, former press person, now doing stuff on the kind of consultancy side. He told me very early on in my time in the industry, he said, the thing that you will love the most about this industry is making friends in it, keeping those friends and keeping those folks actually tight to your circle. And, getting a chance to do this, getting a chance to, chop it up with y'all, doing podcasts like this and all that kind of stuff is a fraction of the beautiful times that we all get to spend together and the memories that we've all shared already during the times that we've been able to do this stuff. So I do miss that dearly, for sure. But I'm hoping that hurries up and gets ready. Give me my shots.
No shit.
Yeah. Oh no, Parris's video is
pixelated.
breaking down.
Oh, see?
Close your
That's what
tabs,
happens.
Paris.
That's karma.
Close your tabs.
That's
It's
karma.
WandaVision.
That's karma. Oh, there you go.
You're
There
back.
you go.
Yeah, no, Brittany hasn't been back to the studio. It's been almost exactly a year since Brittany was in the studio. And then I saw you at PAX East, which was next week will be the year anniversary of PAX East 2020. And then I haven't seen you since IRL.
It's fucked up, man. That's all I got. This whole situation is fucked.
Yes.
Yep.
As eloquent as I can
Well,
get about it.
Hopefully it gets better, everybody. Hopefully it gets better.
Wash your hands,
I do
wash
want
your
to
butt.
thank all of our amazing guests for being on the show. Kahlief, please tell people where they can find you.
You can find me at Kajakins on Twitter. You can find me at Spawn on Me as well on Twitter. We do our show live on Wednesday evenings around 6 o'clock p.m. PST. You can check us out there on our partner Twitch channel. There, we're on all podcast platforms in the worlds that you can go to. And if you are in New York City currently right now, if you go walk down to Times Square, you can see my face on 3 billboards.
Oh,
3
shit.
billboards.
Yeah, I've been seeing
3
you post all those
big-ass
videos.
billboards.
It's so cool.
Mad billboards,
Yeah.
son. BX
I haven't
stand up.
seen that. Oh my god,
Yeah,
I'll check it out. Okay.
It's wild. I'll send
awesome.
you videos and things. So that's nuts in and of itself. But again, thank you everybody for spreading love and for having me today on the show. I love y'all.
Of course. And Rihanna, we know you busy working at G4, but you also streaming.
Yeah, I started streaming over at Rihanna Twitches now, twitch.tv. And I've signed up for some Division, and hopefully we can get some Call of Duty Zombies in there soon.
I got you.
But I've also been playing like Tetris Effect Connected. That raid boss is a piece of shit, and we're gonna get him. So did some shenanigans in Sea of Thieves, and regularly play lots and lots of Apex Legends. As y'all already know, I am obsessed with that game. So yeah, check out my Twitch streams. They are very inconsistent, and I don't have a schedule, and I am sorry, but that is just what it is. And anytime I'm going live, I will definitely tweet about it at Rihanna Tweets Now.
All right. And Parris, we talked about gamertag, but where else can people find you?
You can find me at kindafunny.com. Let me say that again. You can find me over at kindoffunny.com.
Parris looked it up.
Yeah,
Looked it up at the break.
No. You can also, I have my own YouTube channel. It's my name, Parris, Parris. You can search that on YouTube, and you can find me on social media at Vicious696 on Twitter.
You guys can also find the Kind of Funny Xcast that Parris hosts at roosterteeth.com, where you can also find What's Good Games. If you guys did not realize that both of those shows are available on the Rooster Teeth app or on roosterteeth.com, you can check us out there if you guys are Rooster Teeth members, or if you just want to head on over there. We're not behind a paywall. You can watch our stuff for free. So thank you so much to all of you for being on the show. Kahlief and Ree are going to be joining me on Saturday, February 20th, just one day from when this podcast releases, to raise some money for an amazing charity called Black Girls Code. You know, Parris talked a lot about how leadership is so important, and what's great about what Black Girls Code is doing is that they're going to young girls in STEM fields specifically and encouraging young girls of color to go into those STEM fields so we can get women in those leadership roles. And it starts with the younger generations. So we're going to be raising money, and I have got a shit ton of prizes that we are giving away. You can check the What's Good Games Twitter account for photos, but we've got a Yakuza jacket and custom controller we're giving away.
Ooh.
I've got a Rockstar Cross Cyberpunk 2077 a swag bag we're giving away. I've got a Ori Collector's Edition. I got all kinds of stuff, you guys. So
And I'll be there too. It'll be fun.
Brittany's going to be joining us. Listen, it's going to be fun. We don't have a set game schedule or anything. We're going to be freeballing it as we like to do at What's Good Games. But hopefully you guys will stop by. We'll be starting at 2 p.m. Pacific time and going for who knows how many hours. And earlier in the day, we've got our Patreon exclusive streams, which you guys can check out at patreon.com/whatsgoodgames. And that is going to do it for our show for this week. Thank you for everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, and hopefully we'll see you on the stream. Bye.
Bye.